out.
What's poppin'? My name is Duckhead, and today I have the debate with Freaky 3005. This is someone who commented in my video who disagreed with my stance on anti-tunneling and objective versus subjective and things of that nature. So we had, I think, like almost damn near 3-hour fucking debate, right? This is just going to be the audio because I don't want to take his footage from his VOD and upload it because I don't want to get a copyright strike on my channel. So this is just going to be the audio from my part, but I will link his VOD in the description to where you can see him talking on his camera. Alright, so enjoy the debate, and I would love to do more things like this in the future. So if you disagree with any of my videos, just let me know. We can hop in Discord. Only thing I will say is this went on a little long. I thought this was going to be like an hour thing. We ended up debating damn near 3 hours. So if you do want to debate me, I ask you keep it short. Please. I don't want to be fucking debating about Dead by Daylight for fucking 3 hours. All right, I don't want to do that. But anyway, this was fun. This was a good time. Anyway, I'm out this bitch. Y'all enjoy the video. Bye. Going.
So, what is tunneling in Dead by Daylight? Do you want to give your real quick explanation of what tunneling is?
Yes, tunneling is when a killer focuses a survivor down from their first hook until death without going after anybody else and ignoring all other objectives, ignoring all over other players, and just going after one person until they die. That's what tunneling is. And it's not like if a killer hooks you back to back and like you get on the totem or you get on the gen, then the killer comes back and hooks you. It's if the killer makes it a point to only go for you. That's what tunneling is.
So you would say you cannot accidentally tunnel somebody?
I mean, you can, but like what I'm saying is like hard tunneling is like you focus down one person. You make it a point to focus down one person. That's what hard tunneling is, in my opinion.
I would agree. I would add that like sometimes you can kind of tunnel on accident because like for me most of the time I don't keep track of hook stages because most of the time I just play very laid back just for fun, and then I don't really keep track of hooks. And sometimes I accidentally can hook somebody 3 times in a row because it's a derpy Nancy or something like that.
Yeah.
And she just runs into me 3 times. That can happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally speaking, I would agree tunneling is when you try to kill a survivor as fast as possible by hooking them 3 times in a row. R6S can also sometimes be a horror game. Yeah, but we're talking about today. Okay, now that we have defined tunneling and we know we're talking about the same thing, what would you say is anti-tunneling?
De facto anti-tunneling, like anti-tunneling perks, those are
we can start with perks.
Okay, off the record and decide strike are de facto anti-tunneling perks. That's like categorically speaking what anti-tunneling perks are. But I think there are. Go ahead.
When you're talking about anti-tunneling, you just mean these 2 perks. When we talk about anti-tunneling perks, you just mean 2 these. I know you also have anti-tunneling tools. We will talk about that too. But when we're talking about anti-tunneling perks, you just talk about decisive strike and off the record.
Yeah, just off the record and decisive strike. Those are the de facto anti-tunneling perks. Yes.
Okay, so when we say anti-tunneling perks, you mean these 2?
De facto speaking, yeah. When we're talking about categorical anti-tunneling perks, those 2 are the perks that I'm talking about. Yes, but there are a plethora of anti-tunneling tools that you can use that aren't.
We'll get to that.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
But I agree with that description of anti-tunneling. I would agree with that. The de facto anti-tunneling perks are decisive strike and off the record, even though you can. Like, there are people who argue that Dead Hard is an anti-tunneling. I don't agree with that. But we will get to that.
Okay.
What would you say RNG is?
RNG just means something that's not... It's something that's completely random. It's not in your control, basically.
But would you say RNG is something... Like, when I play against you, is RNG something that is in neither of us control? Or something that is just not in your control?
It's something that's not in your control. So, for example, like if I'm choosing a killer, that's not RNG because I choose who I choose as killer, right? I have the choice whether or not I want to choose somebody. But if you're a survivor, if you're going against me, the killer that you're going against, that is absolutely RNG because you can't control that.
But wouldn't by that logic everything your opponent does be considered RNG?
I mean, if you wanted to argue it like that, but like I'm meaning RNG as in it's completely random. Like you have no control over it whatsoever. Because if it wasn't random, then I wouldn't say it was RNG. Like for example, if the maps didn't spawn like random tiles all over the place and like random variations, and different variations, then you can say that the maps weren't RNG based. But since they do spawn random variations and nobody's in control of them, then that is RNG. It's just anything that's random, basically.
I mean, you can somewhat influence what map at least drops, but yeah. But the only thing I disagree with is, in my opinion, RNG is something that is out of both players' control. So you were talking about the map that is out of my control and it's out of your. If I would be playing killer, and you play survivor with your friends, it's out of either control of us where the windows spawn, where pallets spawn. But for example, what killer I choose may be random for you from your perspective, but in the game it's not random. I deliberately chose that killer. So I would not agree that in general it's random what perks you bring, or what, just because the other side cannot know it doesn't necessarily make it an RNG factor.
I disagree, because RNG basically is just anything you're not in control of, anything that's random. So for example, if you queue up as Survivor, you can get a nurse, you can get a spirit, you can get a trapper, you can get a doctor, you can get any of the 35 killers in Dead by Daylight, you can get any of them. So since you aren't in control of which one of those killers you get, that is absolutely RNG based.
But by that logic, when you play Survivor and you take D-Strike, and then you hit me with your D-Strike, then I could argue, man, that's just bad RNG that I got hit with that D-Strike, man. Because you chose the perk, I couldn't know which perks you bring, therefore it's RNG that D-Strike hit me. Right?
I mean, if you wanted to argue it like that, for example, like in tournaments...
No, I am extending your logic. Your logic is when the killer choice is, because you can't influence it and you can't know it, when it's random, then also perk choice is random, logically. Add-on choice is random. What items the survivors bring is not random, because you can kind of see it, but not totally. And offerings are totally random. They are all RNG by that logic.
Yeah, so you're not in control of it. You're not in control of it. So if it wasn't RNG,
you would be.
Say again.
I would not be in control of it, but you would be.
Exactly.
You could deliberately take decisive strike.
Okay, yeah. So anything that you're not in control of, anything that you don't control, that is RNG. There's a chance that you get it. There's a chance that you don't. Right? There's
everything
a pool.
I don't do is RNG by that logic.
Okay. There's
everything I'm not touching is RNG. So for example, my teammate unhooks me. That's RNG. I couldn't control it. I couldn't know if he would unhook it or not. The killer chasing me is RNG, because I don't know if the killer would chase me or somebody else. And by that logic, you can blame everything on RNG. You can say, well, I only got down because he chased me, and that's just RNG. I only got, I don't know, I only got, you only got unhooked because you had the RNG to have a good teammate who would actually unhook you. So actually you would have died. Like, that logic is just, in my opinion, I don't mean this offensively, but I just think it's stupid.
Okay. Well, you're not in control of it, and I think you're digging too deep into it. Like,
I'm just extending logic. You can't just say your logic just applies by killer, but everything else the logic doesn't apply.
No, not quite.
You know what I mean?
Not quite, because if you're a killer, right, there's a certain chance that you're going to get 4 survivors, right? Are those 4 survivors, getting those 4 survivors, is that in your control, yes or no? Like, getting those 4 survivors. I'm not talking about things that you can do in the game. I'm talking about getting those 4 survivors. So for
specific.
Yes, those 4 survivors, are you in control of doing that?
Depends, kind of. I mean, you are in control of who you play against, because you can just leave and look for a new lobby. So you are kinda in control of it.
If you assuming that you don't leave, and even if you do leave, are you really in control? Because are you choosing to be matched? Are you choosing to be matched with those survivors you're being matched with?
No, you're not choosing that.
Okay, if you're not choosing, that means it's not in your control, which means it's completely random. That's all RNG is. It just means it's random.
But you can then choose. You're not choosing who you match up against, but you can decide to leave, or to search for another group. Which a lot of killers do. For example, in the CP100s, they leave. They ditch the lobby.
Once again, you're not in control of who you get matched with. You can leave whenever you want to. That's something you are in control of. But you're not in control of who you get put in a lobby with, which means that it is RNG based. Like, for example, like if you play 50 games as a survivor, the only way you would be able to prove that the killer you get is not RNG based is if you got the same killer 50 times in a row. But since you get different killers every single survivor game you're in, then it is absolutely RNG based.
Actually, that is not correct. I
Okay.
could, like, statistically, I could get the same killer 50 times in a row and it could still be RNG.
Okay, so that would be proving my point then.
Yeah, I'm not trying to disprove your point. I'm just saying that that is a wrong statement. You can, like,
Okay.
just because something doesn't apply, like, chance always has the chance of not coming into play. You know what I mean?
So I'm gonna tell you the way you can prove that the killer survivors get is not RNG based. If you can somehow prove that every single survivor in this game gets either the same killer or the same group of killers, then I will concede that the killer that you get as survivor is not RNG based.
I can actually prove that. Like, if we're talking about top MMR, I can prove that. There were a lot of killers and survivors who played against each other all day, every day, on and on and on, because there aren't that many high MMR players. Therefore, they just playing the same people on and on.
I said all survivors. I didn't just say high MMR.
Okay, all survivors. No, I could not prove that.
Okay.
Of course, it's like, of course, this depends on what we're talking about. Are we talking about normal solo queue, or are we talking about tournaments? Are we talking about kill your friends? Of course, these questions come into play. If we're talking about a tournament, then of course the killer choice is not RNG, because there is a select killer choice that you can have. Most of the time, you have like 3 or something killers you can choose from. So the survivors know which killer is going to come. They have a rough idea.
We're talking about Dead by Daylight in its totality. The totality of Dead by Daylight.
Totality includes tournaments.
Okay, so everything. Solo queue, tournaments, pubs, anything. Can you prove that all survivors?
When you are doing matchmaking, then it's random. When you're doing tournaments, then it's not.
Okay, so if it's random in matchmaking, then that means that the killer that you get is RNG based. If it's random in matchmaking.
You could argue that. You could say that would be a correct statement, but you could also say the killer chooses how, like, we will get to that, but basically you could also say that the killer can choose how strong that D-strike and stuff is going to be against him when he queues up, depending on which killer he chooses, but we will get to that. Okay. I will just concede to you at that point that let's say it's RNG. That's fine.
Okay.
So RNG is everything that is out of your control. It's random, that you cannot directly influence.
Yes.
So we are taking in-game actions off the table because you can somewhat influence them.
Yes.
Perfect. Then I want to talk about what is an objective fact in Dead by Daylight. Because from what I've saw, from your videos I've seen,
okay,
you said D-strike being 5 seconds now is an objective fact. Saying anti-tunneling is too weak or too strong is not an objective fact, it's subjective opinion. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can say that, yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna make a statement that will make you question this idea.
Okay.
Trapper is the strongest killer in the game.
You can make an argument for that if you wanted to. It'll be very hard to argue that.
It's very impossible. It is factually incorrect to say that Trapper is the strongest killer in the game.
No, but
trying to argue that would be absolutely bonkers.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? I'm gonna give a little bit of a real life analogy. Let's say it was 5 degrees outside, and I went out there in a short and shirts.
And you say it's perfect weather, and somebody comes along and says,
I say that it feels very nice out here.
Yeah.
Someone could come by and say, "Well, you're incorrect, Duckhead. You're completely wrong." But that's just how I feel about something. That's not objective. That is absolutely subjective. Anything that you can make a case for in life, in existence, is subjective. Anything that cannot be disproven is objective. So, for example, decisive strike, the duration of decisive strike is 5 seconds. I can't argue that the duration of decisive strike is not 5 seconds because it's just numerically speaking 5 seconds. Like 2 plus 2 is 4. I can't objectively argue that 2 plus 2 isn't 4.
You could argue it. You could argue that actually I jump off the shoulder, which takes away from these 5 second stuns, therefore it's not a 5 second stun. And we are again in a subjective argument by that logic.
Okay, but what is the description?
Also, I want to take your analogy. Take your analogy where you said it's 5 degrees, whatever. I don't know what degrees are. I work in Celsius.
Sorry
let's say it's incredibly hot outside. It's ridiculously hot. It's so hot actually that people would die from it. You burn from it. Your skin erupts in fire. And then somebody comes along while you're burning in agony and pain, and they're also burning in agony and pain. They're like, actually, this is perfect weather conditions, man. Then they are factually incorrect.
That's not
because
fact.
you are literally dying. And
That's
that is what saying Trapper is the strongest killer in the game is.
okay, but that's how you feel about something. Like if you feel that Trapper is the strongest killer in the game, then you're free to feel that way, and you can argue that if you wanted to. You can argue
feel
that
like
Trapper.
It's wrong. It's objectively wrong, but you can
It's
feel like it.
It's subjectively wrong.
It's objectively wrong.
For example, like
you can prove it.
Okay.
As long as you can prove it, it's wrong.
Okay. For example,
it's objective.
For example, tier lists in Dead by Daylight. Not everybody's tier lists are the same. Some people have Blight ahead of Spirit. Some people have Spirit ahead of Blight. As long as you
Nobody
can do
has
that.
Trapper as place 1.
Huh?
Nobody has Trapper as the strongest killer. I can guarantee you this.
No.
I would actually challenge you to find a non-trolling tier list that puts Trapper in S tier.
What I'm saying is, since this is something about how we feel, that is subjective. I'm not saying, like, for example, I'm not arguing that like Trapper is the strongest killer, obviously, but I'm saying that if someone wanted to make that argument, they can absolutely make that argument.
You would not say it's wrong. You would not say that it's wrong.
I would argue against it.
But you would not say that it's wrong. By your logic, you could not say it's wrong.
I would
argue. Just say your opinion is it's wrong.
I would argue against it. I would be like, I would argue against it. I would say that is fallacious. That's what I would say.
It would be very much ridiculous on like 20 different levels.
Yes, of course. It would be ridiculous, of course.
Yeah, but that's like what I'm trying to say is, the thing is, you said an objective fact is something that you cannot challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't challenge it at all.
Everything is challenged. In science, you can challenge everything. You can literally challenge gravity. That's the idea of science, for example. So nothing is factual, actually. Because you don't know if it's actually 5 seconds. Because, well, it's just your perception of 5 seconds. It might be in the code 5 seconds, but 5 seconds for us might be 10 seconds for a dog. So you could even argue that these things are not subjective because other beings may interpret or see time different than we do. So even that you cannot argue is objectively correct. You can argue everything is subjective if you want to.
Okay,
but if there is sufficient evidence for it, if there is enough evidence, then it becomes what we might consider factually correct, or a fact, or objectively correct.
Okay, so
there needs to be enough evidence.
You're getting into like philosophical territory to where like you're trying to say, oh, well, if someone wanted to argue that 2 + 2 isn't 4, then like they can argue that because someone's perception of numbers may be different. But like, no, this is objective. In the game, the devs have made it to where the killer gets stunned for 5 seconds. That is objective. It cannot be disproven.
And the devs make it so that the killer Trapper is the weakest killer in the game by design.
Okay, is there any are there any
no,
rules?
Not the weakest, not the strongest. Sorry, no, he's not the strongest killer.
Okay, but are there any rules that say that he's not the strongest? Like, is it written in code? Trapper is the weakest killer.
It doesn't need to be written.
Okay, so if it's not written, my point is that is subjective.
Okay, so as soon as I write something down, it becomes objective?
No, so what basically, these are absolutes. These are absolutes, what we're arguing. Decisive strike being 5 seconds is an absolute. It cannot be disproven because killers are stunned for 5 seconds. No matter how you want to feel about it, no matter how you want to argue it, a killer is stunned for 5 seconds when decisive strike happens to them. Currently, there is no objective rule that Trapper has to be the weakest killer in the game. If someone wanted to argue that Trapper was the strongest killer in the game, they can absolutely do that.
So for you, the only things that are objectively correct are rules that are written down.
The things that are objectively correct are things that cannot be disproven. Basically, it cannot be disproven. So
everything can be disproven. Everything can be disproven.
That's not true.
For example, gravity. You say gravity is gravity, basically.
Can 1 + 1? Can 1 + 1 not be 2? Can 1 + 1 not be 2?
Maybe we disprove it in 20 years. How do you know? You don't know what you don't know. So you don't know if something is 100% actually correct.
Currently, is 1 + 1 not 2? Can you make an argument that 1 + 1 isn't 2?
In our society, we say 1 + 1 is 2.
Okay. So it's objective fact. It's objective. Like, it can't be disproven. Like, you're getting into like weird philosophical boundaries and things of that nature.
It's not philosophical. It's scientific. In science, you can always disprove everything. It's a scientific. Like, you cannot say in science that something is 100% factually correct and you cannot go against it. You can go against everything. You just have to have efficient evidence to disprove it, but you can argue against everything. For example, evolution is basically proven at this point. Everybody with a reasonable understanding of it would agree it's proven, but there are still people arguing against it. You know what I mean? That's the point I'm trying to make. You can argue against everything.
Evolution
you can say everything is subjective.
Okay, well, are we debating? We're still debating about Dead by Daylight here, right? Because I don't want to like get into like
we
off the rails.
What is objective and what is subjective?
Okay, so with evolution, religious people don't believe that. Religious people don't believe it,
and they try to argue against it.
Yes, and of course, and they would feel that evolution isn't real, and no one can convince them otherwise. So we can't really use evolution as an example. Like that's like with the Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory versus creationism. You can't really prove which one is objective either way. It's just more so what you believe in.
You can't really prove anything to 100%.
You absolutely can.
Know if
1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. And the side strike stuns a kill for 5 seconds.
You cannot 100% know that tomorrow 1 + 1 would be still 2 because reality could just end, for example.
Okay, well,
cannot know.
In our current bounds right now, 1 + 1 is 2.
From what we perceive, 1 + 1 is 2, yeah.
Okay, so in our current bounds, objectively right now, 1 + 1 is 2.
What we perceive, 1 + 1 is 2, yes.
Yeah, so
from
it's
what we can measure and perceive.
It's objectively 2.
Objectively from what we can measure and perceive.
Okay, so it is objectively 2. you just said it was objectively 2.
And perceive.
Yes. So objectively it is 2. So you can't disprove that 1 + 1 isn't 2. So you cannot disprove that the side strike does not stun a killer for 5 seconds. You can't disprove that. What you can
argue
make
it.
You can't. The killer is
and you are stunned for a second or something.
You're talking about a survivor's time that they are able to the time that a survivor is able to make distance, like 4 seconds of distance. That's what you're trying to argue. But the killer himself is stunned for 5 seconds. There is no like numerical change when it comes to that.
Yeah, there is enough evidence that we would agree that the killer is stunned for 5 seconds.
We
can perceive it, we can measure it.
Mm-hmm.
The reason you say it's 5 seconds and that's fact is because I can take out a clock and measure the time and it says 5 seconds. That is the reason, because you have to measure it. If you would have no way of proving it or disproving it, then it would not be fact, which is what I'm trying to argue. If there is sufficient proof for something, it becomes fact.
It's not sufficient
that
proof.
Is the case.
It is something that can't be disproven. That is fact. That's something that can't be disproven.
Do you want me to Google the definition of objective?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
I have it pulled up here as well.
Oh man. No, I have it in German.
Okay.
I want it in English.
Yeah, I have it right here. Do you want me to read it?
You can read it.
Okay, it says, of a person or their judgment not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts.
There we have it. That literally proves my point.
That doesn't prove your point. I said
it needs to be proven by sufficient evidence, which is what you... Please read again the last part of the definition.
Representing facts.
It needs to be proven to be factually correct.
Okay, but the thing is, like Trapper being the strongest killer, if someone wants to argue that, they can. They can absolutely argue that.
They cannot find evidence for it. They cannot find facts for it. They cannot find anything that would prove their point.
Okay,
that would in any way, shape, or form outweigh the 20 million points against it.
They said representing facts. Do you want me to Google what the definition of fact is?
It is a fact that the Trapper is not the strongest killer in the game.
That's not a fact. That's not a fact.
By every measurement that we have of Trapper's strength, be it how many hooks he gets, being how strong he is in loop, being how strong his power is,
Mhm.
he is the weakest killer in the game.
That's
can't
how you
prove that.
feel. That's how you feel. Like
He's not the strongest killer in the game. I'm keep messing this up. He's not the strongest killer in the game because again, there are so many stuff against him that you have to prove something to say that it's a valid opinion or a valid argument in any way, shape, or form. So when you say that Trapper would be the strongest killer in the game, your opinion is just wrong. There is subjective opinion.
It's a foolish opinion.
Wrong.
It's a foolish opinion, but it's
that
not
is factually wrong.
Remember, opinions cannot be wrong. They're just opinions.
The sky is green. Is my opinion, because I have just for an example, I have a disease in my eyes that I cannot see the sky in blue. So for me, the sky is green. Is now the sky green just because my subjective opinion is that the sky is green?
It is scientifically proven that the sky is blue. It is scientifically proven that the sky is blue. So science doesn't science is it proven? Science for example does not take into account like physical ailments like blindness and things of that nature. It is like assuming that everyone is able sighted and able to see well enough to know that the sky is blue. Like it doesn't take into account like colorblind and things of that nature.
That is not what it is. They're just measuring the light that comes through and what kind of light and it was.
Okay, so
they're measuring it. They're measuring it and proving it with numbers and facts. The same I can prove that Trapper is not the strongest killer with numbers and facts.
Okay, but scientifically the sky is blue. Like scientifically, you can't make a case that the sky isn't blue. You can't make an argument.
But you can have another opinion that would be wrong.
Exactly, opinion. A wrong
that
opinion.
Would be wrong. A subjective opinion that would be wrong.
Remember, with objectivity, we're only dealing in facts that cannot be disproven.
But you just said an opinion cannot be wrong, and now we agreed that an opinion can be wrong.
No, an opinion can be foolish, but like opinions aren't wrong or right. It's just how you feel about something.
If, for example, if I were to say God exists and it turns out he doesn't exist, then I'm factually wrong. My opinion was wrong.
I mean.
Is that a correct statement? Yeah, yes or no?
But the thing is, can you prove that God doesn't or does not or does exist?
Doesn't matter if I could prove it or not.
It does matter.
Would be proven?
That's why it's called That's why it's called religion. It's something you believe in. It's not something that's like proven.
You believe in. It's your opinion, but it can be wrong.
Okay, but in our current confines,
it doesn't matter if I can prove that God exists or not. If God were to not exist, then these people would be wrong, no matter if I can prove it or not.
Okay, can you prove it now that God doesn't exist?
Dude, again, can you prove now how gravity works? No, you can't. It doesn't mean that gravity doesn't exist. Just like, I'm trying to make a point of like, theoretically, what if God wouldn't exist? Would these people who have the opinion that God exists be factually wrong and therefore have a factually wrong opinion?
It's not like, will they? It's like, can you prove it now? We're operating within the confines of the present, not like the future, right?
Again, you're avoiding my question. Would they be factually incorrect?
Would
their opinion be wrong?
If we got to that point where we are able to prove whether or not God exists, if we got to that point, then of course they would be wrong.
Their opinion would be wrong, right?
No, because you
can be wrong.
Because you're talking in absolutes. You're saying if God does or does not exist at that point.
You're talking in absolutes. If the sky is blue,
okay,
that's also an absolute.
Okay,
the only difference is one we can prove, the other we can't yet.
I'm trying to respond to your question. So basically, what you're saying is, if we get to the point where we can prove that God doesn't or does exist, then at that point in time, God existing or not will be like 2 + 2 = 4, and you won't be able to disprove it.
That is not what I'm arguing. What I'm arguing is there's only 2 possibilities, basically. More there are other, but let's just boil it out to 2 possibilities. God exists or God doesn't exist. So people in this now at the moment who think he exists and who think he doesn't exist, one of these 2 groups is factually wrong.
Okay, but do you know that
one of their opinions is factually wrong?
Are you able to prove that?
Proven yet?
Are you able to prove that? Okay, so if it hasn't been proven, then that means it's not a fact right now. It's not objectively correct right now.
If you do a test and a math test and you fill out the test
Yep.
Are your answers wrong, even though I haven't corrected your test yet, when you have written wrong answers? Or only me correcting them makes them wrong? Do I have to look over it
That's not
for
really
it to
good.
be wrong, or is it already wrong?
That's not really good analogy, because that test was made
It
because
is.
there are answers that have been assigned to those questions on that test. So like those
There
questions have
are
already
answers.
been answered.
There is also an answer to if God exists or not. We just don't know the answer.
No. Those questions have already been answered on the test. So like like the answers are known already. So that's not really good.
Okay,
That's not really good analogy, because the problem.
Let's say the answers are not known. It's a math test, and I have to nobody has ever done these equations, and I also haven't done these equations. So I still have to do the equations. There is no answer yet. I still have to do the math. I still have to check your math.
If
there's no answer yet.
So you're saying like you're saying you're trying to say that a test, you're given a test and the answers don't exist for that test?
Not yet. I'm giving a math test, and I haven't yet. Like when you're doing math tests, somebody has to calculate it. Somebody has to calculate the answer, right?
I mean,
so
remember
the
these
only
these
thing I'm trying to say
the
is
answers to
is
these.
not yet calculated.
Okay, go ahead.
The answer is not yet calculated. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, no, but remember, with tests, like the answers are already known. You're not gonna like have a
it's
test.
not. Again, it's not already calculated. Like for example, if I write,
you're not able to do that though. Like you're not able to give a test with something that can't be answered.
I write. Of course I can. I can say 3 times 12 times 25 times 100. And I ask you, what is the number? Your answer, no matter what answer you give, is either right or wrong, no matter if I know the answer to this question or not.
But the answer, the answer is proven to exist in our numerical system. Like God is not proven to exist currently.
You can argue the answer is there is tools to find the answer. The answer does not already exist in a numerical. There are tools, which would be calculations and math, to reach the answer.
The number that you're trying to get to when you do that equation has already been conquered by humans and has already been discovered by humans.
You could also go so high. There are numbers that we haven't discovered yet because they are so ridiculously high that they haven't been named yet.
Okay, so
of course there are infinite numbers and we have never counted to infinity for obvious reasons.
Okay,
that argument is pretty weak.
It's not weak. You haven't disproven my argument, because like you're trying to do like this weird philosophical thing where what if someone
like you saying an opinion cannot be factually wrong. And I'm just arguing.
No, opinion cannot be wrong or right. An opinion cannot be wrong or right. It's not factually wrong or right. It's not opinion. It's just how you feel about something.
If I feel about something wrong, then I'm wrong.
Okay, so like if your opinion is that 1 + 1 is equal to 2, that's not an opinion, because 1 + 1 is proven to be 2 already.
If my opinion is you are angry at me, and I'm wrong with that, then my opinion was wrong.
Okay, that's how you feel. That's how you feel. Feelings don't come into play when we're talking about objectivity.
Right. I'm not trying to argue about objectivity. I'm trying to explain to you that an opinion can be wrong.
No, opinion is just an opinion is just how you feel. Facts cannot be wrong.
And it can be wrong.
No, opinions. Remember,
feel about something wrong.
Remember, opinion is not wrong or right. It's just how you feel. That's all it is.
Everything is an opinion, Ducat. You can make everything into an opinion. You can say, my opinion is that 2 + 2 is 5.
That's not
a factually wrong opinion.
That's not an opinion, because 2 + 2 has already been proven to be 4. That's not an opinion.
Evolution has already been proven. So when people say evolution is not real, are they factually wrong?
Okay, but the thing is, like, people believe in creationism, so you can't really.
You're just trying to find excuses to not say that it's factually wrong.
No,
you're just saying, well, they believe, but they are wrong.
Because the thing is, like, dude, like people believe in creationism. People believe that God made us or whatever.
They do.
Okay, so you can't sit there and say that they're wrong for believing in that. You shooting
me in the head will not hurt me, is your opinion. Is that factually wrong or right?
Say it again.
You shooting me in the head should not hurt me or would not hurt me. Let's say that would be your opinion.
Okay,
that
so
would be a factually wrong opinion.
Okay, so no, because it's proven if you shoot somebody in the head, they receive damage. So of course they can be hurt from that. Like that's a fact that they receive damage.
I'm trying to argue that it's not proven.
Okay,
I'm trying to argue that opinions can be wrong.
Okay, so you can't have the opinion that if I shoot someone in the head, they won't be hurt from. That's not an opinion because it's factually correct that they will be hurt from it.
Kids have that opinion. Kids don't know about that. They have that opinion.
Because they're kids, they don't know any better.
I don't argue about the circumstances. I'm just arguing that an opinion can be wrong. That is all I'm trying to get out of you.
Okay,
that an opinion can be wrong.
Once again, what I'm trying to convey to you is opinions are neither wrong nor right. They're just how you feel about something. That's all they are.
Black is the brightest color.
You said black is the brightest color. So okay, I get what you're doing. Scientifically proven, it is scientifically proven that black is not the brightest color. So that's factually incorrect. It's not. It's not like, huh?
It's my opinion. I believe in it because my God told me. It's my opinion.
Okay, that's fine. You can believe in that, but it's
so
proven.
I'm not wrong?
It's a proven fact. No. Remember,
I am wrong. My opinion is wrong.
Remember, opinions about facts are not like you can't. Remember, opinion is something that is neither wrong nor right. It's just how you feel. Like you can't feel that black is the brightest color.
What an opinion is, because I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure the definition of opinion also has factually wrong statements in it. So you can also say. I'm pretty sure we can Google it. That the definition of opinion also includes statements that would be factually wrong.
Would you like to Google the definition of opinion?
Sure.
Okay. It says a
view or judgment formed about something.
Not necessarily based on fact or knowledge.
Or logic. Yes. So by that definition, it includes things that are factually wrong, or does it not?
It says not necessarily based on fact or knowledge.
Yes. So can opinions be wrong? If I have an opinion that's not based on fact or knowledge, and it's based actually on the contrary, like for example, black is the brightest color, like then I'm factually wrong.
No, remember, it's not based.
The definition yourself says that you can have an opinion that is factually wrong.
It's not based in fact though. It just says that it said that it's not based in fact.
Therefore, it can be factually disproven. Yes or no?
Remember, opinions are not based in fact, my man. Like if it's proven already, if it's proven within the confines of human existence that something is a certain way
formed about something not necessarily based on fact or knowledge.
Once again, if it is proven in the confines of human existence that something is a certain way, then it cannot be. Then it can
still be an opinion.
I mean, are you gonna let me finish? You keep interrupting me.
Yeah, you can. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So once again, you cannot argue against fact. You can't do it, right? It is something that exists in human existence. It exists, and you cannot argue against it. It cannot be disproven. That is not what opinions are. You can have an opinion that you can have an opinion that 2 + 2 is equal to 5, but you are incorrect. You cannot say that 2 + 2 is equal to 5. That's not an opinion.
I would be what? It is an opinion. An opinion has not to be based on facts or knowledge.
No, remember.
So it can be an opinion because it's not based on facts.
Remember, you cannot have an opinion. Like if you say that 2 + 2 is 5, that's not an opinion because 2 + 2 is
the definition said it is.
Okay, but 2 + 2 is a fact, which is 4. That's what objective means. Like all objective means is that like it can.
I'm not talking about objective.
Okay, we're still debating about fact and opinion here, or what are we doing?
We're talking about opinion. I just want you to get to agree that an opinion can be factually wrong because an opinion is not necessarily based in fact or knowledge. Therefore, you can have wrong knowledge, so bad knowledge or no knowledge about the subject, form an opinion about a subject, and be factually wrong about it.
No, not quite, because remember, opinions and facts are two completely different things. They shouldn't ever be talked about in the same light. Like
opinions are not based on fact. Therefore, an opinion can be factually wrong because it's not based on fact. There is nothing here saying an opinion cannot be objectively wrong.
You said there's no. It says that it's not based in fact. It says that it's not based in fact. Like the definition.
Not necessarily. First of all, it's not necessarily. Second of all, yes, it's not based in fact. That means I can make a factually incorrect opinion. I can have a factually incorrect opinion.
You just
because
said
it's not based in fact.
Your keyword factually incorrect. Factually. Which means objectively incorrect. Like if you say something that is objectively incorrect, then you are objectively incorrect. But if you say something subjective, which is how you feel about something, then that's neither wrong or right. That's just how you feel.
But
right?
You can have opinion about both.
No.
Because you don't know the answer to one, for example. You don't know. Like again, it's not based on knowledge. So maybe you don't know something and form an opinion of it and are later proven wrong. So you have an opinion right this moment that is actually factually wrong.
Within the
just nobody has explained it to you yet.
Okay, within the confines of human existence, if something is proven to be fact already, then there is no opinions on that matter. You can't have an opinion on that matter. Like we're going in circles here. Like
we're going in circles. You know what? Let's just move on. We're not going to go any further with this.
Okay.
Okay, what is an anti-tunneling perk? How would you define it? Or do you want me to define it first?
Sure, you can define it.
Oh, we already had that. Wait a second. What's an anti-tunneling tool? Sorry.
Tool,
That's where we were.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to define
it? You can define it first. That's fine.
Okay. I would say for me personally, this is my opinion. Anti-tunneling tools, anti-tunneling perks are the same thing. There is no difference between them. And for me, the definition of an anti-tunneling perk or anti-tunneling tool, however you want to call it, is a perk that helps you when you're being tunneled, but only activates or is only usable after you've been hooked. Because you cannot be tunneled before you've been hooked. That is my definition of an anti-tunneling perk.
Okay. I think that anti-tunneling tools fall under anti-tunneling perks in terms of the umbrella. Or no, the anti-tunneling tools, rather, anti-tunneling perks fall under the umbrella of anti-tunneling tools. My definition of an anti-tunneling perk is something that's designed to work when you get off the hook. Like, for example, to help you with when you're being tunneled. For example, decisive strike and off the record. Those are designed to help you when you get off the hook. Anti-tunneling...
Tool.
Say again?
What is a tool?
Okay, anti-tunneling tool is anything that makes it harder for the killer to hook you back to back, or makes it take longer for the killer to hook you back to back, or makes it outright impossible for the killer to hook you back to back.
I knew you were going to say that, and I've actually a list prepared of everything that you have stated in your videos is an anti-tunneling tool, and I would just go through that list and you would say if you still agree with this or not.
Sure.
So you said extending loops is an anti-tunneling tool. Is that correct?
Sure.
You said pallets and windows are anti-tunneling tools. Is that correct?
Yes.
You said anti-hook, so anything that makes it harder to hook or that prevents a hook, like sabotaging or like flip-flop or something like that, is also an anti-tunneling tool. Is that correct?
It can be used for anti-tunneling, yes.
Getting up from the ground, any perk that lets you get up from the ground, you've also stated is an anti-tunneling tool. Is that correct? So this would include Boon Exponential, Unbreakable, and Nomida, for example.
When paired with things like Decisive Strike, yes. It can be an anti-tunneling tool, yes.
So you also stated that heal is an anti-tunneling tool because you might heal in chase. So any heal that is possible in a chase can extend a chase, and as we have already established, extending a loop is an anti-tunneling tool.
Yes.
So you would agree that these things are also anti-tunneling tools.
Yes, because it takes it longer for you to be hooked. Yes.
You also stated that team information is an anti-tunneling tool, because, for example, you mentioned Bond. Because when you know where one of your teammates is, you can walk to them and they might take a hit for you.
Sure, that can be an anti-tunneling tool. It can make it to where you don't go down on the hit that's supposed to down you, and then you're able to extend the chase and not go down. So yes.
That would also include Discord, right? So for friends in general.
Discord.
Yeah, because it's information. You get information about where your teammate is, and you can exchange information of can you take a hit from me there?
Let's keep it in game. Let's not like talk about third-party stuff.
Okay.
I didn't say Discord, by the way.
Yeah, no, didn't. I never said you said that.
Oh, okay, all right.
I never said that. That was not the statement I wanted to make. I just said that if team information is an anti-tunneling tool, wouldn't Discord also be an anti-tunneling tool because it gives you team information? But if you say that you don't agree with this, then that's fine with me.
Yeah, it's anything in game, not like out of game.
Would you say stealth is an anti-tunneling tool? You also stated this in one of your videos.
Sure.
So for example, just so you have an example what I mean stuff like Lucky Break, Deception, maybe even Pebble, you could argue, lightweight, stuff like this.
If you're able to use those things and extends the chase to where you would have gone down and been hooked, and now you're not going down and being hooked because you extend the chase, sure, you can say that's anti-tunneling tool, yes.
You also stated that anti-tunneling tools and anti-tunneling perks are not the same, even if the tool in question is a perk.
No, so I said that anti-tunneling tools is like the whole umbrella, and then anti-tunneling perks fall under that umbrella. So just things that make it harder for the kill to hook you or take longer for the kill to hook you.
So they are not the same. They are two different things.
No.
One is part of the other, but they are two different things.
So anti-tunneling tools, anti-tunneling perks fall under that umbrella. So yes, anti-tunneling perk is an anti-tunneling tool. Yes.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, you cannot, like, from your logic, you cannot call neither an anti-tunneling perk. You could only call it an anti-tunneling tool. That is what I mean.
In my opinion, on no matter if you wanted to argue it, you can call that an anti-tunneling tool. It's not a because what I'm saying is de facto anti-tunneling perks are off the record and decisive strike. That's what they were designed to be, and the perks said it. The devs said that they were anti-tunneling perks, right? But anti-tunneling tool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you would say that, for example, like I said. You said, for example, everything that extends chase is an anti-tunneling tool. So, for example, Dead Hard.
Yes.
But you would not call Dead Hard an anti-tunneling perk, not just an anti-tunneling tool.
I would call that an anti-tunneling.
These are two different categories for you.
No. So remember, anti-tunneling perks fall under the umbrella of anti-tunneling tools.
But would you call Dead Hard an anti-tunneling perk?
I'll call it an anti-tunneling tool because it's not a de facto anti-tunneling perk.
So they are two different things, tool and perk. Anti-tunneling tool, anti-tunneling perk.
No, remember, anti-tunneling tools is the whole umbrella. Anti-tunneling perks is like a branch off of their umbrella, like to the right, and then maybe on the left you have anti-tunneling tools, right?
Yes, what you are basically saying is colors is the umbrella and black is a certain color, for example.
Yes, basically.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to ask you is, so black and all colors are not the same.
No.
One is part of the other, but they are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean.
Yes, and they will all help you. They'll all help you. Yes, that's what we're arguing.
They're not the same. You categorize them in two different categories.
So Dead Hard is an anti-tunneling tool, right?
Yeah, but you would not call that. Yeah, but you would not call it an anti-tunneling perk.
No, it's not categorically speaking an anti-tunneling perk. Like it's in the same vein that I wouldn't call.
It's a different category, right? If you say it's not in the same category, then it must be a different category.
No, remember, for example, on the killer side, slowdown is an umbrella, right? So there's different type of slowdown. There's anti-healing. There's Jin slowdown. There's having to do totems. Those are all slowdown. So like anti-healing, anti-Jins, hex totems. Those are all like under the same umbrella of Jin slowdown, right? They're different branches. For example, on the other side, anti-tunneling tools, anti-tunneling de facto anti-tunneling perks, categorical anti-tunneling perks, decisive strike off the record. But categorically speaking, Dead Hard is not an anti-tunneling perk, is an anti-tunneling tool. That's what I'm saying.
So it's in a different category. Like,
no, it's not in a different category. It's all under the same umbrella.
Yes, they are.
Like the reason. Listen,
they are all tools, but they are not all perks. Not all anti-tunneling perks.
So this is the reason.
My question is, just simply, you basically already answered this question. You just then gone on like 5 minutes of explaining more and more and more. My only question was, would you consider Dead Hard an anti-tunneling perk, yes or no? And you basically answered with no.
It is not an
category.
It's categorically speaking, it's not an anti-tunneling perk, but it's anti-tunneling tool. That's what I'm saying.
That is all what I'm asking you. For you, these two. What I'm asking basically is, for you, these two words, anti-tunneling perk and anti-tunneling tool, are not interchangeable. They mean different things.
No, bro.
Anti-tunneling
tool is the whole umbrella. All right?
Yes.
It's the whole umbrella. Anti-tunneling perks is the branch off the umbrella. The reason I'm not calling Dead Hard an anti-tunneling perk is because it is not categorically speaking an anti-tunneling perk. Yes. Decisive strike and off the record are categorically speaking anti-tunneling perks.
You're not getting my point. You're explaining something that I have already said like 20 times.
Okay, so what are you asking?
What I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to ask you is, do you have two different definitions for the word anti-tunneling perk and for the word anti-tunneling tool? or do these two words have the same definition and are interchangeable?
I'll tell you
That is what I'm asking you.
I'll tell you my two definitions. Anti-tunneling tool is anything that makes it harder for the killer to hook you back to back, anything that makes it impossible for the killer to hook you back to back, anything that makes it take longer for the killer to hook you back to back. Right? You with me this far?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a tool, yeah.
Okay, so anti-tunneling perks, those are
specifically designed for this.
They are categorically said by the devs to be anti-tunneling perks. That's a category that the devs put that in. That's what I'm saying. So what's your question?
Well,
like we're going around in circles once again.
You have defined these two words because you are literally defining two different words.
I'm not defining two different words.
So if I would again, you are defining the word.
I promise you, I'm not.
Again, you are defining the word anti-tunneling perk or the umbrella as perks that were intended by the devs to be anti-tunneling.
Yes.
And then you say an anti-tunneling tool is anything that can help you when you are being tunneled. Yes. I 100% get that. These are two different definitions. The only thing I'm asking you is, are these two words interchangeable, or do these two things mean two different things for you? And you've answered this with yes. That is all I was asking.
Okay,
but
so
for some reason you don't even understand that you've answered my question.
Okay, so what are we getting at? Like, why do we keep? What's your Come on, get to your point. What's your point?
I just wanted to know if these are two different categories, if these are two different words for you that mean two different things. That is all I wanted to know. My point that I'm now actually going to make is, by everything we have just discussed here, what your definition of anti-tunneling tool is, borderline everything in the game can be argued to be an anti-tunneling tool.
Not everything.
Even gens. First of all, I'm just gonna again list everything that you have mentioned, and you can then say what is in the game that I haven't mentioned. You said extending loops, so anything that extends the loop, anything, any perk, any item, anything that has the potential to extend a loop is an anti-tunneling tool. You said that.
Yes.
Pallets and windows are also anti-tunneling tool. Anti-hooking, so anything that makes it harder to hook in any way, shape, or form is an anti-tunneling tool.
Yes.
Anything that helps you getting off the ground is an anti-tunneling tool because you can pair it with other tools to make it an anti-tunneling tool.
Yes.
Anything that can heal you, as long as it works in chase, is an anti-tunneling tool. Because you get another hit, basically. Anything that gives you in-game information about where your teammates are is an anti-tunneling tool, because you can go to the teammate and he can take a hit for you. Then you've also said that stealth is an anti-tunneling tool. So now please tell me, what have we not talked about besides gens? That is in Dead by Daylight.
You tell me.
Nothing. The only thing missing are gens and gates. And you could even make an argument for these things being anti-tunneling tools.
I mean, if you wanted to make...
If I can finish a gen faster, the killer has less time to tunnel me, therefore it's an anti-tunneling tool.
That's not really how. That's not how I would argue it. I would probably argue it because this is something I have experience with, going against this and doing it to other killers. I would argue that gens, if you wanted to make that case, me personally, I wouldn't make that case. That's why I didn't put it in my video. But if you wanted to make that case, you can say that if survivors finish gens faster, then you can get your adrenaline faster, which would heal your health state and make you be able to loop longer. But that I would just say that your looping is doing that. I'm not saying that like survivors finishing gens is helping you not be tunneled. That's not how I would argue that. But like if you wanted to make a case for gens, that's how you would make the case for gens. But me personally, I wouldn't make that case. I'm not making that case at all.
Honestly, no offense, but it doesn't matter if you make that case. You can just extend your logic. Like you made the point that anything that helps you to not get hooked is an anti-tunneling tool. That is literally how you defined it.
Yes.
Which means making a gen quicker also takes away from time where you can get hooked, so it might prevent a hook. Therefore, it is an anti-tunneling tool.
I mean, if you wanted to make that argument, sure. I mean, have at it if you wanted to make that argument. I didn't make that argument. I didn't do that.
But you could make that argument using your logic.
Basically,
with gate 2.
No. I said anything that makes it harder for you to be hooked, which is your teammates taking hits, you dead harding. Like if you want to make that argument, that's not me. I'm not doing that. So anything that makes your hooks take longer is an anti-tunneling tool, because if you were supposed to go down in 30 seconds, say 30 seconds, and then you dead hard a hit at 30 seconds, you don't go down and you extend the looping process, which means it takes longer for the killer to hook you, and that's what anti-tunneling is. Anti-tunneling tools are. It makes it take longer for the kill to hook you, and it makes it harder. That's all. There's this notion in the Dead by Daylight community, right, where people think that perks can't be used for anything outside of what they're categorically designed for. For example, on the killer side, you wouldn't say that Sloppy Butcher is a gen slowdown perk, but I can use it.
I know what argument you're going to bring. You've already did this in the video. You said that, well, I can use Sloppy Butcher because you either have two options. Either you go down faster because you don't heal, therefore you have less time to work on gens, or you heal yourself, and I might even interrupt that, and then you're wasting time not on gens. I know that you've made that argument already.
Yes, and that's that. Even though categorically speaking, Sloppy Butcher isn't gen slowdown, I can wield it as a tool for gen slowdown.
Yes, you can. But the thing is, by that logic, you can use almost every killer perk as a gen slowdown. Because information perks make it so you find the survivor faster, so you harass them off the gens faster. Any chase perk that makes it easier to chase makes it so you down a survivor faster, so you can hook them faster, so a survivor needs to get off the gen. Any perk that is a hex perk could be cleansed by a survivor, which are then not doing gens, which also makes it a slowdown perk.
Yes.
Of course, everything that slows down perks is a slowdown perk. By that logic, when you extend that logic, everything in the game that killers can do, besides very, very, very minor exceptions, are slowdown. And the same is what I'm trying to argue, which I haven't made the point yet, but I'm trying to argue is your definition for anti-tunneling tools is also so broad that we're basically talking about at least 90% of the game, because the whole
Can you back that up with numbers? If you're saying 90%, I need you to back that up with some numbers. If you're gonna say 90%, like, because you're just throwing numbers out there.
I cannot back that up with numbers. I could back them up with numbers. I would need to go through all perks, but of course I haven't done that in preparation of this debate.
I don't want you to say that in your argument then. Don't say that in your argument then, because 90% you're throwing numbers out. Just making sure. I'm just making sure.
I cannot 100% factually say that it's 90% because I haven't checked.
Okay, but so let's not throw out 90%.
We have, again, let's say it's not 90%. It's going to be a very, very high percentage. Because again, it's all heal, all extending loops, all anti-hook, all getting up from the ground, all stealth, and all team information.
Depending on what you pair it with. Depending on what you pair it with, not used individually.
Yeah, sure. But still, by your definition, all of these things fall into that category. And would you not agree that most perks in Dead by Daylight for Survivor are either about, extending loops, anti-hook, getting up from the ground, healing, or team information or stealth? The only category of perks from Survivors that is not really in there are maybe meme perks, depending on what meme perk we're talking about. Something like maybe Blast Mine doesn't really fall into that category. And gen perks in general, because we do have not agreed that you would say that gen perks are slowdown tools. Slowdown tools, anti-tunneling tools. Therefore, every other category in the game, from perks and from items, would be anti-tunneling tool, which would mean almost everything in the game.
If you use it like that, sure. Like, if you use it like that, yes, of course, you can use it for different things. Like this is the thing, dude. Dead by Daylight is a rich tapestry, meaning like it's a bunch of things that mix to go together to do things in Dead by Daylight. You can use perks for different things. For example, categorically speaking, Decisive Strike is not supposed to be an offensive perk. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a defensive perk for when you're getting tunnel. But what people do is they'll pair with Off the Record, and they'll take hits from the killer. They'll like run in front of or run behind the person who's unhooked them, and they'll make it to where the killer can't down them unless they get past her Off the Record. And once they get past her Off the Record and then down them, then they DS stun them. So they're not using Decisive Strike at that point for anti-tunneling. They're not using it for that. They're using it for offense, even though it's not designed like that. So like you can use things in Dead by Daylight outside of the confines they're designed for.
Don't agree, at least in this. I agree in general that you can use perks for things that were not intended to, because I don't mean this very offensively, but honestly speaking, the devs are kind of dumb.
I mean,
and they sometimes don't think everything through.
We can agree on that.
Which means sometimes they bring in perks or add-ons or items or powers or whatever, and they don't think them through, and there are sometimes uses that are not intended, that they didn't think of, for example. So of course, yes, this exists. But for example, for D-Strike in a specific case, I disagree. Because you can only be D-Striked as a killer when you tunnel the survivor, more or less. Of course, you can hook somebody else very, very fast, and then the D-Strike from the previous unhook is still active. But for you to get D-Strike, you need to down the survivor and pick them up.
That's not
Or
tunneling at that
grab them
point.
out of the locker.
You said if you hook somebody before you hook someone who's just been unhooked, that's not tunneling at that point.
Yeah, that would not be tunneling, but therefore you have to be really, really fast and really, really good at it. And also that survivor is doing nothing at that time because he's waiting for you to hook that person, and because he cannot touch anything, he would lose his D-strike.
So that's not
he cannot
tunneling.
do anything.
So that's not tunneling. So what are we talking about?
It is not tunneling. It is not tunneling. You can use it then, but again, the killer chooses to be hit by it. You pick the person up. You try to hook the person. That's the reason why you're being hit by it.
Yes, and
a survivor cannot use D-strike without the killer's consent. Let's say it like that.
Okay, so like that completely changes the landscape of the argument. Like you're going outside the confines of what we established tunneling was. It's like getting one person out as fast as possible, not like hooking someone else and then going after the person who's been unhooked and then getting them down. Like we can't really include that in the argument because that's not what tunneling is.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the perk is designed around that. You're saying the perk is not designed to be used like that, and I say the perk is designed for the killer to not hook the survivor when they have not touched anything. So when the killer has to pick them up. Like, what I mean is, if you were to argue that it's an offensive perk, then there would need to be some way where the killer can force the decisive strike on the survivor can force the decisive strike on the killer, and the killer can't do anything about it.
He can.
But the killer can.
He can.
Like
he can do
the killer
that.
can just not pick up.
Like, and then you get up with Unbreakable, you just go do other stuff. That's how you use it offensively there.
These are other perks.
But
then you're not using that D-strike offensively. You're using, for example, what you made your example of off the record. You're using off the record offensively. You're using D-strike defensively in case you get downed.
This not in case, like, no, dude. If you're like viciously, aggressively trying to take body blocks from a killer that is clearly going after somebody else, and you're trying to take body blocks so that you can save your teammate or just mess with the killer or whatever you're trying to do, you're not being toned at that point in time.
You're not.
So you're using the perk for something it's not intended to be used for. Like, categorically speaking, it's only designed to help you if you are actually being tunneled. If you're trying to take hits from people, you're not being tunneled at that point because the killer's clearly trying to go after somebody else.
If it would be actually, if this would be the intention, Duckhead, why wouldn't they, the devs, not make it so that as soon as another survivor is hooked, that perk deactivates?
I mean, well, the devs said that they were anti-tunneling perks. I didn't say that. The devs said that. So you got to ask the devs that. I'm just arguing. What I'm doing is I'm just looking at the landscape, the current landscape of Dead by Daylight, taking, all of everything else out of it, just looking at the current landscape of Dead by Daylight and what we have available to us right now. And this is what we have available to us right here. So you'd have to ask the devs that question. That's not a question for me.
I'm just saying you're not using it offensively. You're using it defensively to not get hooked. You're not using it to actually harm the killer. You're using it to protect yourself. That is how you're using D-strike. You said you're using it offensively. You're not using it offensively.
The only time you're ever using the side strike defensively is if you are actually being tunneled. If the killer makes it a point to only go for you after you've been unhooked. If you are trying to take body blocks for someone else after you've been unhooked, you are not being tunneled. You're not being tunneled.
But
so that means you're using it offensively then.
We're getting on a side tangent. This doesn't really matter to me. It was just a random. I don't agree that decisive strike can be even used offensively because you're still using it to prevent a hook. So you're more using it to defend yourself. But that doesn't matter. If you don't agree with this, that's fine.
Okay, I disagree.
Where do we continue? Where were we? Well, I would ask a question which is also really important. Like, actually, these questions were more like preparation questions when we get to the actual debate, but we're actually hanging on these questions quite a lot.
Okay.
The next question is also a very important question so that we can actually start the real debate if tunneling is too strong or too weak.
That wasn't the real debate.
No, the real debate is if tunneling is too strong or too weak. That's what we actually wanted to talk about.
Okay, all right.
What do you think, or what in your opinion, is anti-tunneling supposed to even do?
Anti-tunneling is just supposed to make it harder for the killer to hook you, make it take longer for the killer to hook you. And anti-tunneling, as it stands now, it depends a lot on your skill as a survivor. It depends a lot on your skill as a survivor. That's what I think anti-tunneling should do. It should make it harder for the killer to hook you if you get unhooked, and it should make it take longer. And it should take skill as well, and or teamwork.
Okay. We do not have the same definition in that case. For me, anti-tunneling, what it's supposed to do is just make it harder for the killer to tunnel. Not to hook in general, not to chase in general, just make it harder to tunnel. And it does not need to prevent tunneling, because that would be kind of shitty.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't want a perk that just disables tunneling for some reason.
Yeah.
But like an anti-tunneling perk is, in my opinion, or it should be in my opinion, that the goal of that perk is to discourage tunneling. Because if you were to tunnel that person, you get punished for it. That would be my definition of it.
Okay, so
Or like the goal of it, basically, what the goal is of anti-tunneling. Because if we say the goal of anti-tunneling is to extend loops or make it harder to hook, for example, then D-Strike is completely useless on your first chase.
No,
So
remember.
it's doing quite a shitty job.
No, remember. I said the anti-tunneling is designed to make it harder for a killer to hook you back to back, like if you're actually being tunneled. Yes, back to back. That's important. Back to back, not your first hook. Back to back.
Okay. Then I think we more or less agree, or do we not?
Okay.
Do you agree with me? Like, would you say that, like, or do you think we are far off with what anti-tunneling is supposed to do?
I mean, I think we generally agree, generally in a general sense. So like, what's the question?
Like the question was like, let's move on. I think we've come to somewhat common ground. At least I know now what you mean when you talk about is anti-tunneling failing or not.
Okay.
So the question now, and that's where the real debate is supposed to start.
Okay.
Is how strong currently do you think anti-tunneling is in general?
Are you talking
on average,
about?
Of course.
So when I made the videos, I was talking about the 3-second decisive strike timer. So are we talking about 5-second decisive strike now in that landscape?
Right now, we're talking about how it's right now. So now it's 5 seconds as far as I know, unless they haven't changed it back again.
It is 5 seconds now. They've changed it back to 5 seconds.
Then we're talking about 5 seconds.
Okay.
How strong do you think it is right now?
I think it's fine. It's strong.
Not too strong, but though.
No, of course
would
not.
say
It's not too strong.
Exactly correct. You would not change anything about it.
Me personally, I wouldn't have changed it from the 3 seconds. Me personally, if it were up to me.
So you think D-Strike is too strong now?
Of course not. No.
What? So do you think 3 seconds and 5 seconds doesn't matter?
Nah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So for you, it doesn't matter. Okay.
No.
I personally would somewhat agree.
Mm-hmm.
And there we get into the things that we've already talked about in a comment.
Mm-hmm.
I would somewhat agree, but I would say this depends heavily on which killer we are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if we're talking about bottom tier killers,
Mm-hmm.
like I have actually made a list for it, so I can just mention a few names.
Mm-hmm.
Trapper, Brave, Myers, Doctor, Freddy, Clown, Ghostface, Sadako, Dredge, Xenobite, Hillbilly, what's her name? Skull Merchant, Pig, and so on and so forth, would be killers who are more on the weaker side. Not Xenobite, not necessarily, but most of them.
He said Skull Merchant's on the weaker side?
You think Skull Merchant is strong?
Yes, she's like B tier, damn near A tier killer.
Do you think B tier is strong? That's like average.
No, you said on the weaker side. B tier is not on the weaker side.
Yeah, okay, you could say you can take out the Skull Merchant and the Xenobite because they are B or A tier depending on where your opinion lies.
Yeah, and Xenobite's like damn near A tier. Okay, sorry, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. Go ahead. Sorry, continue.
I'm just mentioning a few names. You could also, of course, talk about Legion, for example, would also be one that I haven't mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's not as strongly affected by anti-tunneling, because Legion can use his power to instantly take away your off the record or your borrow time or whatever you use.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, against these killers, I would say actually anti-tunneling tools, or anti-tunneling perks, in my opinion, which are D-Strike and off the record, are too strong. That would be, if correctly played, if we're talking about a top tier Freddy, for example, going against top tier survivors, D-Strike and off the record are too strong. Okay. Is my opinion. Would you disagree with that?
I wouldn't say it's too strong, but it's approaching too strong. It's strong. I'll say it's strong. I wouldn't say it's too strong.
And when we're talking about killers like Blight, Executioner, and Nurse, I would say they are too weak.
Okay, so okay, so yeah, okay, I'll agree with you there. I'll agree with you there.
So you would say against some killers it's too strong, against some killers it's too weak.
It's not against some killers too strong. Decisive Strike is strong against 80% of the killer cast in the game, and I can go through all the names if you want me to.
I have actually a list. We could also go through that, but yeah.
Okay.
If you want to, we don't have to. We can. We can. Like I would.
You want me to
we
name?
can.
You want me to name who I think is all strong against?
I think it would be if it's only 20%. I think it would be more interesting to hear which you think it's not strong against, because it would be quicker.
Nurse.
We can assume that everybody else.
Sure. Okay, so it's not strong against Nurse, Huntress, Spirit, Death Singer, Pyramid Head, Wesker, Blight. Everybody else is strong against, or not strong against, but you are able to use it.
Did you mention Executioner?
Yeah, I said Pyramid Head.
Okay. Did you say the Knight?
No.
Decisive
Strike is effective.
Very strong again. No, you can pop down a guard. If you get Decisive Strike, the guard instantly downs that person. It's not effective at all. If you know how to play Knight, it's not effective at all. It's useless.
No, remember, I'm talking about like Decisive Striking off the record. We'll just say Decisive Striking off the record. Like I'm not talking about Decisive Strike by itself. I won't even.
Also very strong because the chase power of Knight is very strong, which means it's quite easy for him to get hits. Therefore, off the record is not very strong, and D-Strike is completely useless. Therefore, I would argue anti-tunneling in general is weak against it.
Remember, the way you go against a Knight, the way you loop a Knight is you just run in a straight line. Like off the record will allow you to run in a straight line. Very well, actually.
Gives you, like, I think, how much does it give? Like 20 seconds?
How you said how much is off the record?
No, how long does, like, if you just run into a straight line and I chase after you, how long does it take for the killer to catch up? I think this kind of depends on how much distance we started at.
Yeah, it depends on how much distance you started.
How close. But it does not give you a lot of time, which is all I'm arguing against. I'm arguing that taking an extra hit against Knight is not that strong, and Decisive Strike is completely useless. Therefore, anti-tunneling perks are not very strong against Knight. That's all I'm saying.
I disagree. I think they're not strong against them, but you're able to make good use out of it. They're not strong. Like I mean, they're not as strong as.
You can also get use out of a Decisive Strike against the Nurse.
Okay,
it's just not strong.
No, I mean in terms of how much use you can get out of it, I'd say you get more use out of a Decisive Strike against a Knight than a Nurse.
No, actually, it's the opposite. Like again, you can just pop down a guard and the person instantly goes down.
Okay.
You pop down a guard next to you, you pick that person up, that person wiggles off, the guard detects them. Remember, the survivor is stunned for half a second, and the guard just instantly hits them and downs them. You
know, I disagree with you on this that you can't make that it's not good against Knight, but you know what? I'll give it to you. I still have 77% of the killer cast that Decisive Strike can be used against. 77%.
It can be used against. It's not very effective, though. I mean, you can use a Decisive Strike against a Huntress. You've mentioned Huntress, for example. It's not very effective.
Huntress is not. I have her in a not effective side. I have her in a not effective side. So I'm not including her in my argument.
But it still works against her. It's just not very strong, right?
Yeah, so I'm like what I mean by not effective is that it's not very strong. The killer will catch up to you or down you like really quickly after you use it.
I would also put Trickster into that category.
I wouldn't put Trickster there.
He's the same as Huntress, just a bit slower.
Okay, Trickster has to throw a lot of projectiles at you.
But he throws them very fast. 8 knives, but he throws them really fast. And you can reduce it to 7 or something.
That doesn't really matter. You're acting like I can't dodge those knives.
You can dodge a Huntress hatchet.
Okay, so if you want me to, I'll put her in the effective against. Like Trickster, you can rail a Trickster with Decisive Strike. 5 seconds of stun time?
A Huntress with Decisive Strike. You can rail a Nurse with Decisive Strike. When we're talking about the effectiveness of Decisive Strike, I am of course talking about a top tier killer. Somebody who's really, really good at what they're doing. I'm not talking about the average Joe or somebody who's shitty with Trickster.
No, I'm not either. I'm just talking in a general sense.
The other killer I would mention where, for example, off the record is very ineffective if you play correctly, for example, Leatherface. Because if you use your chainsaw, you can just chew through both your off the record and your life if timed correctly.
You still
That
have
is
decisive
totally
strike.
possible for. Yeah, the decisive strike is effective against him, but off the record is useless, or not useless, but not as good against a Leatherface. Same thing that I kind of argued for Legion. Against Legion off the record is also not very effective because you can just use your power, hit that person, and then chase them normally.
It's not effective against a Legion off
No.
the record?
Off the record, no. You can just go into your power and hit that person.
Okay, you still have to catch
Really
up
easily.
to them, go into fatigue, and hope they don't make it to another loop. Like, Legion's just a regular M1 killer. He off the record would destroy a Legion.
No, it would not. The off the record is irrelevant. The off the record does nothing. You just pop your power and hit the off the record in 5 seconds.
Okay, so that means you
by
just
like 5 seconds.
So that means you just use your power on an injured person.
Yeah.
That's a waste of
What does
time.
it matter?
You might as well just M1 them regularly.
No, because then you might need to chase them for like 30 seconds to get the first hit. To get away with that off the record.
So either way, you're gonna have to M1 them. Like, you can't down them with your power. So.
Yes, you have to M1 him. I'm just like, of course, he is not a strong looping killer. I'm just saying the perk off the record can be quite easily disabled by a Legion by just using his power.
That doesn't
it takes
really
him like 5 seconds to
that-
take away your off the record.
That doesn't really matter because you still have a 5-second decisive strike.
Yeah. I'm just saying this one perk is not good against him.
Remember, I'm talking in terms of a rich tapestry. So like I want to use off the record decide. I won't even talk about all the other shit that you can use. I won't even talk about all the other shit. I'm just talking about off the record decisive strike. That's all I'm talking about. And okay, so let's talk about those perks in tandem. Like, you're talking about things from a individual perk case by case basis.
So you're talking about both perks combined.
Yes. And really, if I really wanted to, I can talk about styptics and dead hards and sprint bursts and lives, anything that makes you get distance from the killer that you can get all.
I could talk about every killer perk. I could say, what if the killer has coup de grace, or what if the killer, like, again, that is you're arguing you can combo perks to get better at chase. Well, killers can also combo perks to get stronger in chase. This is, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's not coup de grace is like, it's good on M1 killers. So like that, like I'm not talking about anything else. I'm just talking about decisive striking off the record. That's all I'm talking about. Because if I wanted to bring everything else into here, we'd be sitting here all day, and I'm not trying to do that. So like the decisive strike off the record, those are the only two things.
And we would be talking about almost the entire game.
Yes. So yeah, I don't want to do all that.
I would also say that this kind of depends on situation, but I would personally say that Hack is not very much affected by anti-tunneling.
Wow.
Somewhat because Hack doesn't tunnel as much. That is like tunneling with Hack is just not very effective. But again, if you are in the web of the Hack and you decisive striker, you run like 5 meters and a trap pops and he downs you instantly again. The same goes for off the record. But also you could argue that maybe with your off the record you get enough distance to get out of your of her web of traps. But still, I would argue it's not that combination of off the record and decisive strike is not that strong against a Hack. Also, would you disagree or agree?
I disagree. Off the record and decisive strike is strong as Hack.
Okay. Yeah, then we have like this is like the point that you have had earlier. You said, and this is like I don't want to have a gotcha moment, whatever, but you said how strong killers are is subjective.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And how strong the perks are against killers are subjective. Because you're saying that it's effective against 80% of killers. I could just argue that's just your subjective opinion.
If you wanted to do
and
that,
that it's actually ineffective against like half of all killers.
Well, if you want to do that, that's fine. But like, I'm going to argue against it. Like, you give me sufficient evidence, and I'll entertain your argument.
I did make arguments for a bunch of killers right now. We have already reached around half the killers.
Yeah, and I've been refuting some of your points. A lot of your points you've been giving me. Like, I've been.
But you were not refuting that with logic or sense. You were just saying, no, I don't agree, or no, they are not. They are strong.
Do you want me to?
When I said when you are in the web of Hack and you to D-strike her, you're probably gonna get down in a few seconds again.
I thought we were moving on. Okay. Did you want me to refute that?
I mean, you just said you disagree and you don't think it's good with almost every killer.
No, it's not. No, I said 80%.
You're not bringing an argument for why it's good. Why is it good?
Okay, it's good because you can make distance against these killers. You can make distance with off the record, and then they have to catch up to you, and then they have to eat. Like I made this list considering that it was a 3-second DS. Like if we're talking 5-second DS, you shit on these kills. 80% of the killers in the game.
Did you not say earlier that 5 or 3 seconds does not make a difference?
No. What I said
Well, yes,
is,
you did.
in my opinion, 3 seconds was fine. 5 seconds is fine as well.
And then I asked you, so for you it doesn't make a difference, and you said yes.
For me, it doesn't make a difference. No, for me,
fair and equally strong, basically.
No, for me, because like
for you it doesn't make a difference. So from your point of view, from your opinion, it doesn't make a difference. We're talking about 3 seconds or 5 seconds.
No, because me personally, as a survivor, I can make use of a 3-second decisive strike. That's why I say that. Me personally, as a survivor, and plus on top of that, as a killer, I can deal with a 5-second decisive strike. That's why I'm saying, like, to me, it doesn't matter. To me, like, it really doesn't matter to me.
But you would not say that they are both created equally.
No, of course not.
Okay, so okay, then you've taken that statement back.
No, I didn't. I didn't take anything back. I never said that. Like, I never said that. Oh, there's no difference between.
When I asked you that they are interchangeable or that it doesn't make a difference for you.
Yes. You just said the keyword for me. For me,
yes, in your
as
opinion,
a player.
Obviously.
Yes, for me as
opinion.
For me as a player, it does not make a difference for me. Like, I'm going to shit on a killer with a 3-second decisive strike, me personally. And on top of that, if a killer has a 5-second decisive strike, I'm skilled enough in this game to understand how to avoid it or to eat it in the correct situation. So, like, for me, it doesn't matter.
You're being dishonest at this point.
I'm being dishonest about what?
If I ask you, do you think that these that these two are fine and that they are the same, and you say yes, then of course you don't mean that. Like, it is so far-fetched to say. What I meant with yes, they are both the same is that for me, because I am so skilled, they don't make a difference.
Yes,
but of course, in general, it makes a difference.
Because you asked me if I thought it was too strong, and I said no, I think it's strong. And then, like I said,
and I asked you if you think it makes no difference if we have a 3-second or a 5-second decisive strike.
I'm talking in terms of game balance. Like, I'm talking in terms of game balance.
Yes,
in terms of game balance.
About game balance, and you just said that a 5-second decisive strike would make a big difference when we're talking about which killers it's effective against and which killers it's not.
Yes, so it would make a difference. No, I misspoke. So I'm talking in terms of my skill. In terms of game balance, yes, it would make a bit of a difference. It would make a big difference in terms of which killers it's effective against, which killers it's not effective against. I mean, my list wouldn't really change, but this is an extra 2-second of a stun. So, like, you have an extra 2 seconds to get wherever you need to get in Dead by Daylight. And that's a long ass time. 2 seconds is a long ass time when we're talking about how long a killer's stunned for.
Yeah, you can argue that. So, like, I would say, like, from your how many killers did you mention that you think are not affected by decisive, or that it's not strong against?
I had 27. Oh, sorry, that is effective against, or it's not effective against?
That is, so 27 it's effective against. So we have 36 killers, right? So you think against 9 it's not effective?
I thought we had 35 killers.
Do we not have 36? I'm not sure.
I think it's 35.
I can count real quick. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It's actually 35, yeah.
Okay.
It's actually 35. So it would be not 9 but 8. 8 killers, in your opinion, are not strongly affected by anti-tunneling.
Yeah, 8.
Okay. I don't know what the percentage of that is, but it's probably like
27 35, 77%. 8 is 23%.
Yeah, so it's over 20 actually. But yeah.
So, like,
it's 23%. So almost 1/4 of all killers is not affected or not strongly affected by anti-tunneling.
So, but the thing is, that's like the incorrect way to look at that, in my opinion, because if damn near 80% of the cast is affected by decisive strike, then like this, then anti-tunneling should be fine. Like, if damn near, and I'm just talking about decisive strike off the record. If damn near 80% of the cast of killers is like affected in a big way or a good way by decisive strike off the record, then anti-tunneling is fine. If almost 80%.
It's totally fine that a nurse can tunnel as much as she wants and you cannot stop her from it.
No, of course, it's you can argue that it's not fine, but then again, if you want to take the most extreme example that you can think of, I would take an extreme of, is it fine if 4 survivors sends you to Area of Crows to run 4 dead hards, 4 agilities, 4 decisive strikes, 4 off the records?
And I would say it's not. As I've argued that strength is highly dependent on what killer we are talking about.
Yes.
And what situation we are talking about.
Highly dependent. Yep.
For that reason, I think that anti-tunneling can never be balanced or never be fine, because there will always be killers where it's too strong against, and there will always be killers where it's too weak against. It will always be in a state of not being fine.
I'm talking about
depending on the situation.
I'm talking about the totality of Dead by Daylight. The totality of like all the killers.
In totality, if it's not fine in 25% of the almost 25% of the cases, then it's not fine.
But it is fine in 75% of the game. So like the overwhelming majority of the other cast.
Every 4th game, it's not fine.
Huh?
Every 4th game, it's not fine.
Okay, so the overwhelming majority, it is fine. So 3 out of 4 games, you're going to rail a killer with your anti-tunneling perks and anti-tunneling tools. 3 out of 4 games, and 1 game you won't.
The other thing is, like, let me just look into my notes quickly so that I don't mess anything up from schedule. Okay, I think I can talk about this all without taking anything away. Now I forgot what I wanted to say. What was the last thing you said? Sorry. It was about... Anti-tunneling is strong against different killers differently. It affects them differently. Yeah. What I wanted to basically say is that the argument that it's fine, because it's fine most of the time, does first of all not be the case when we're talking about a killer. A killer main, if I choose to play nurse all the time, I don't give a fuck about decisive strike or anything. So for that, it's not okay. Second of all, the killers that it's effective against, as we have already mostly talked about, are more on the weaker side. Or on the average killer side. There are a few exceptions. Like, I don't know, who did you mention who is strong, who wasn't? Maybe somebody like Wesker.
So remember, like, my argument is I'm arguing against the fact that, like, people are saying it was too weak. So, like, when the video was made, they were saying that, like, a 3-second decisive strike and off the record and everything else in Dead by Daylight that you can do, they were saying that was too weak. And I argued that it was fine.
Somewhat correct. They are somewhat correct and they are somewhat wrong, depending on what killer situation they're talking about.
Okay, so I'm talking about the totality of Dead by Daylight. The totality.
In totality, so they are wrong either way.
Okay, so remember, I'm arguing against people saying that it's too weak. My statement in the video was, whatever you want to say about anti-tunneling, you can't say it's too weak. That's what I said.
Anti-tunneling is too weak against nurse.
Okay, so do you only go up against nurse in every game of Dead by Daylight?
Anti-tunneling is too weak against tournaments. In tournaments, anti-tunneling is too weak.
Every single game of tournament.
Okay, anti-tunneling is too weak when the killer is actually tryharding.
Okay, so if a Freddy is tryharding, are they gonna?
Nope,
is it too weak?
That is not a tryharding killer. A killer that plays Freddy.
No. You said if a killer is tryharding. You didn't say if a nurse was tryharding. You didn't say if a blight was tryharding. You said if a killer is tryharding.
He doesn't pick Freddy.
Okay, so is every single person in Dead by Daylight going to be a sweaty blight or sweaty nurse, a sweaty spirit? Is every single person going to do that?
But do you need a decisive strike against fucking derp ass Freddy, who is playing his fifth game of Dead by Daylight?
Okay, so once again, you're not going up against Freddy's every game. And once again, I was arguing
80% of the time you're going against killers where it's very effective.
Okay, so that gives credence to my point that it is fine and it's not too weak.
Too strong. That it's too strong.
Okay, but no, that's not what my argument was. I said that it wasn't too weak. Like,
I know that you said it wasn't too weak. Your argument is that it's fine how it is. We've established this earlier in this debate.
So no, remember,
I asked you how strong is tunneling in your opinion, and you said it's fine how it is.
Yes.
And I said it is not fine because depending on killer situation, it varies in strength, which is what we're talking about right now.
Okay, so but the thing is, I can pick up a Wraith or I can pick up a Freddy and I can shit on people even if they use anti-tunneling against me. Me personally, I can do that.
You can.
Yes, of course. And you know, sometimes I'll get shit. And sometimes I'll get shit on. I have VODs, I have videos on my channel where I'm going against skilled people using low tier killers like Pig, So like I have videos like that. Like I have VODs like that, and I'll get shit on sometimes. So like and my whole entire point wasn't if I wanted to go in that direction my video, oh well it's too strong because it's effective against 80% of the cast. No, that's not what my point was. My point was it is not too weak. Whatever you want to say about it, it's fine. If you want to argue from there that it's fine or too strong, you know, we can do that. But like whatever you want to say about it, it's not too weak. That was the whole entire point of my video. Like how you got out of my video that I was trying to argue that it wasn't too strong. I don't understand why you think that I was trying to do that. That's not my point.
I'm not talking about the video right now. I'm talking about this debate. Earlier in this debate, I asked you, what do you think the state of anti-tunneling tools is in Dead by Parks in Dead by Daylight?
Yes,
and you said it's fine.
Yes, they're fine.
You said
they're fine.
Yeah, I asked you, should they get stronger? You said no. Should they get weaker? No, it's fine. It's fine how they are.
No, I don't think
change anything. And you said not really.
Nah.
And then I said I disagree with this. I think that anti-tunneling perks are highly dependent on what killer we're talking about, and they are sometimes way too strong.
So this is the
when
thing.
We're talking about weak killers, and sometimes way too weak. And you have not brought an argument besides, well, you don't always face the killers where it's too strong against, or you don't always face the killers where it's too weak against, which is not an argument because you will face them.
Okay.
And it does take down the average of decisive strike.
So this is the thing. Like when I went into this debate, like I thought that you were gonna like argue against things that I said in my video, but like the whole entire
a lot of points actually from your video, yeah.
Okay, so like this wasn't a point in my video where I was trying to say that like decisive strike was too strong. Like I'm not. That wasn't what I was trying to do. I said that it was fine how it was and it wasn't too weak. That was my argument. Like when I went into this debate, I thought you were disagreeing with me that it was fine and you thought it was too weak. That's what I thought. Because that's what my video was about.
Both. And I tell you it's both. Like from my point of view, it's both. It's too weak and too strong depending on what killer.
Okay, so
for example, if we were to buff decisive strike.
So are we are we done?
If we were to buff decisive strike
for
15 seconds. If we it's ridiculous, but let's just say we would buff decisive strike to 15 seconds. Then it would be a decent, very good perk against a nurse. Definitely. But it would be absolutely ridiculous against a trapper.
So I have a question. Are we done with like all of my video? Because the whole entire point of my video was saying that anti-tunneling is fine and that it doesn't need to be changed. Yeah. That was the whole entire point of my video. Are we going into like are we going into like is Dead by Daylight? Are we going away from my video? Are we going to like is Dead by Daylight survivor side, killer side in terms of like the totality of everything? Is that what we're going into now?
We are not going away from your video.
We kind of are.
The subject of your video
okay, go ahead.
Was how strong is anti-tunneling in Dead by Daylight. That was the subject of your video.
Did you watch the original two videos? Did you watch the original two videos that comment? Because that was a comment.
I watched your 3 last videos actually. In totality, multiple times actually for this.
No, the comment counterattack was my response to Mr. Headache. Did you watch that one?
Not totally. I've watched the first.
Okay, and did you watch the is anti-tunneling too weak in Dead by Daylight?
Yes.
You watched that entire video. Is anti-tunneling too weak?
I can tell you which videos I watched. Give me a second.
Okay, because that entire video is anti-tunneling too weak. There in that video
is anti-tunneling too weak? Comment counterattack. I watched anti-tunneling is way too weak. Dead by Daylight. Why do survivors complain about being tunneled Dead by Daylight? And I watched the video of you debating against Mr. Headache, even though not in totality. Okay,
so this is the video. if you wanted to debate about what I was talking about in the video that was original, you should have watched Is Anti-Tunneling Too Weak in Dead by Daylight. That's the one. It has 1,200 views. You should have watched that one. That was the video that jumped all of this off, right? Because at the point in time of that video, the side strike was 3 seconds.
I actually watched that video. I just checked. I actually watched that video.
Okay, so like the point of that video was to prove that the anti-tunneling was not too weak. That was the point of that video. To prove that it wasn't too weak. So
yes, like what I am arguing it is too weak against certain killers and it is too strong against different killers.
In totality, what I was trying to prove was that it wasn't too weak. That was the point of that entire video.
But you can't make a statement of it's in totality not too weak, because there is no, like, every match of Dead by Daylight is highly different, and then the effectiveness of Decisive Strike is highly dependent on what killer we are talking about, what killer perks we are talking about, what map we are talking about, and so on and so forth. Saying in general it's not too weak, it's just not too weak, is like, you can have that opinion. That's your opinion. You can have that. But it's kind of like very narrow-minded, just looking at like, well, actually it's not too weak because when I use it against all these kills, and you always only bring examples where it's strong. You never once in this video said, well, actually against a nurse, a blight, whatever, it's actually very ineffective and basically useless.
Because they
never said that. You always only talked about situations where it's strong.
Because those top tier killers make up like under 25% of the game.
But they are the strongest killers in the game. Why would I need?
Okay.
You cannot say.
Do you face those? Go ahead.
Let me make an example. Let's say you play Call of Duty. Let's just for an example.
Yeah.
And you say, well, this rifle is way overpowered or way underpowered. Like no. Let's say there's a rifle that's way underpowered. It's way too weak. And then you argue, well, but when I play against shitty Call of Duty players who don't have the top tier weapons yet, then it's totally fine and balanced. But if I'm playing against the strongest things in Call of Duty, that weapon is shitty. Can you then say that weapon is shitty?
You got to look at it in its totality. You got to look at it in totality. So I'm gonna
strongest things in the game.
I'm gonna bring this back to I'm gonna bring this back to Dead by Daylight. So the top 25%, the 25% of the roster, like under 25% actually, is strong. 25%, under 25% of roster is like really strong, right? So my entire point is there is over 75% of the roster that Decisive Strike is not weak against. Whatever you want to say.
And over 75% of the roster are weak killers.
Okay, so if that is the case, then Decisive Strike off the record, anti-tunneling in general, anti-tunneling is not too weak, whatever you want to say about it. That was my point in my video.
It is not too weak when the killer is not actually bringing their strongest killer.
In the totality of Dead by Daylight, because you are not going against nurses and blights and spirits
you
and
are
hunts
not, but
every
you
single
don't
match.
Need these perks against weak killers. So you arguing, well, actually, like for example, if I were to say that Sloppy Butcher is a very overpowered perk because like it's not anymore, it doesn't work anymore, but let's say it would work still. When you use it as nurse, then it's very, very effective because survivors cannot heal very effectively and you down people much, much quicker. That does not make the perk OP. On the other side, for example, let's take Starstruck. Just so I have a perfect example for the Starstruck. Starstruck used to be very shitty for almost every killer besides Nurse. But because it was so strong with Nurse, it got nerfed. So if Decisive Strike is way too strong against certain killers and way too weak against others.
Starstruck didn't really get nerfed. It's just that they made Nurse's blinks special attacks.
They changed Nurse so that it doesn't work anymore. I'm sorry.
Okay, so yeah, they didn't change Starstruck.
They didn't change the perk. They changed Nurse, but it's the same. It's the same principle.
It's not the same principle because they changed Nurse.
You can also bring perks in the equation that got nerfed. Nobody nerfed a Pain Res because Trapper was just too strong with it. It got nerfed because Nurse and Blights were too strong with it. Not because... And that's like when we balance stuff in a game, we do not balance around the low tier killers or the weak shit. We are balancing around the strong things. So when you are talking about game balance in terms of the strong things in Dead by Daylight, then it's weak.
So my point in the video, since you're saying we don't balance around the strong things, if 75% of the killers, like anti-tunneling perks, are good against them, why would we buff anti-tunneling?
Because it's not effective against strong killers.
Okay, so if we do that, then we're just leaving those weak killers behind the dust.
Yes.
When there are 75% of the game where those weak killers are getting railed by these anti-tunneling tools.
Yeah, that's what happens. Totally. Yes.
Okay, so what's your point?
My point is that anti-tunneling is too weak if we're talking about actually stuff like, let's say, tournaments where people are actually trying and actually bringing the strongest killers and actually wanting to win. Of course, D-Strike is effective against your Freddy that just came off of work and is jerking off with one hand while playing with the other. Like, of course it's effective against them.
So now you're arguing that anti-tunneling is too weak.
For top tier killers, yes.
For top tier killers.
If you want to know what I personally would want,
okay,
I would want that. I don't know how, but this would like to be the dream scenario. I just haven't thought about anything yet because I'm not a dev, so therefore it doesn't matter. Even if I think up the greatest decision, like the greatest solution ever, it wouldn't change a thing. But what I would argue is that for strong, like there's two options how we deal with stuff like this. Either we make the weak killers stronger and the strong killers weaker, so we have more of an even playing field, and then we can balance perks around that.
Yeah.
And then then we can actually say that Decisive Strike is fine how it is, because it's fine in almost every situation, besides like maybe like 1% or whatever, where it's like very, very weird niche situations where it's way too strong or way too weak. Or we make it so that perks do not work with certain killers, or do not, like, for example, make Decisive Strike 15 seconds, but only against nerfs, for example. That would be the only ways to actually make these perks balanced. Everything else would make them highly dependent on what killer is played, on how balanced they are.
Yeah. So if we're talking about this now, like, is the debate still going, or are we like giving our personal opinions on how we think the game should go going forward?
That is part of a debate.
Okay. So if I were doing this, like before, I said it was fine, and I do believe it is fine right now as it is. It's just fine as it is. They don't need to do anything else to it. They don't need to nerf it. They don't need to buff it. They just need to leave it how it is. If I were doing this, then I would do something similar. I would nerf Spirit, Nurse, and Blight down to probably about the level of maybe Doctor. Maybe Hillbilly. Nerf them down to the level of Hillbilly, and to bring all the other killers up to the level of Hillbilly. If I were doing this, if I were in charge of Dead by Daylight, I would find some way to nerf all the top tier killers to like the level of Hillbilly, and then bring the bottom tier killers up to that level of Hillbilly. That's what I would do, to where everyone's good in the game, everyone's on a level playing field, and then we can address the side strike, and we can start making changes to anti-tunneling and things of that nature, and tunneling and things of that nature. That's what I would do. But as it stands right now, whatever people want to say about anti-tunneling, you can't say it's too weak. You can't say it's too weak because it's effective against 75% over 75% of killers in the game.
You need to put some caveat in it. You need to see you cannot say that it's in general weak.
Yes, it's in general.
Then I would agree with you.
Yeah, you can't say it's in general too weak. You can't do that. You can't do that. And that's what I've been arguing this entire time.
You can't say it's in general too weak.
Yeah, you can't do that.
But you can say it is too weak in certain against certain killers. You can definitely say that.
I mean, of course, against certain killers, anti-tunneling is too weak against certain killers. But those killers, once again, they make up like at best 23% of the game.
But do you think, and I want to be honest here, do you think that survivors that argue with you that D-Strike is too weak think that it's too weak against Trapper or against Freddy? Or do you think when they say it is too weak, they're actually talking about it's too weak against Huntress, Nurse, Blight, Executioner, and so on and so forth?
To be honest, some survivors will argue against, they're just saying it's too weak against all killers.
Okay, these survivors are absolutely bonkers. Just to be like,
I'm not trying to sit there and say that all survivors mains think that the side strike is too weak against like Trapper and shit. Like, I'm not trying to say that, but some of the survivors that argue with in the comment section think that it is. Like, for example, Off the Record was broken. You know, Off the Record is I don't know if you know it or not, but Off the Record is broken right now to where you can mend over and over and over again and keep your endurance. There are some people saying that should stay in the game.
Yeah, but like there are also people saying that survivors should go down with one hit and then instantly be memorable.
Yeah, of course, and I'm just saying
outrageous.
I'm not saying that makes up everybody. I'm not, but
it probably won't even make up. Like, it's a very, very small minority, probably.
I hope it is. It doesn't seem like it is when I'm reading my damn comments, but okay.
Yeah, but that's like the effect of the ones that scream the loudest are most often heard. Sorry. Like, they are more likely, like, if I slightly disagree with you, like, for example, I went to this debate knowing that we actually mostly agree on most things.
Okay.
There are just slight some caveats, let's say it like that, that I wanted you to put on when you say these things. That when you say that anti-tunneling is too weak, then you say in general, that not talking about against nurse or whatever. Because when you just say anti-tunneling is not too weak, period, then people think you also mean it's not too weak against nurse. It's also not too weak against blight. It's
Okay,
also
well
not too weak against execution.
that's their fault, because in the video I explain all of these things. Like I go into all of these points in my videos. Like I do that. Like if
Don't
I'm saying that if I'm saying the anti-tunneling is not too weak, I go again. I go into all those points of it. I mention nurse, I mention low trick, I mention all of those things. So like if they think that I'm saying it's not too weak against nurse, then that's their fault because they didn't watch my entire video. That's their fault. That's not my fault.
I watched your videos.
Like no, I'm not saying you, but you're saying
the only one where you mention a killer specifically in terms of strength is Executioner, and you only mention this because in your counter-attacking comments video, you somebody brought the Executioner up, and all you said about that was that's an RNG factor. You did not say, well, in this case it's too weak, because in that case you would need to give up a point. You need to you're trying to be right so hard that you don't even give this small bit of a meter of saying, well, against certain killers it is.
Okay, that's not. I'm trying to be right. Like she brought up the example of Pyramid Head, and I'm just like, okay, well, that's RNG because every killer you face in this game is not Pyramid Head. So like you can't just bring up the most extreme examples of where anti-tunneling is too weak and then just sit there and say, okay, well, since in these extreme examples the shit is too weak, then it's too weak overall. You can't do that. And that's why I refute those people who do those things. Because you don't go up against Pyramid Heads every game. You don't go up against nurses every game. You don't go up against these high tier killers every single game.
If decisive strike would be 20 seconds, you could also argue, well, you don't go against decisive strike every game, so it being 20 seconds is totally fine.
Okay, so remember, we are arguing
turn that logic around.
We're arguing in the current landscape of Dead by Daylight. We're not arguing like hypotheticals of, oh, what if it was 20? No, we're talking about a 5-second decisive strike, how it's currently constructed. We're not talking about 20 seconds. That doesn't exist. If you want to bring hypotheticals, make it something that exists in game, not something that doesn't exist.
And hypothetical cannot exist in game because it's then not a hypothetical anymore.
No. So hypothetical is, I mean, like this hypothetical situation where, oh, you know, I'm going against this nurse on mid, which or something like that.
It's not a hypothetical. It actually happens.
No. So remember, a hypothetical. What do you want me to look at the definition of hypothetical?
No, I know what you mean, but what I mean is like, you're saying basically that because it doesn't exist, I can't make, like, I'm just extending your logic. And to dodge that, to not have to face your own logic thrown back against you, you just say, well, that doesn't exist in the game.
No, because
give me an example that actually exists.
Okay, so if I was using that logic, I would say something crazy like, oh, well, imagine if you say it's too weak, well, imagine if all killers had to play Freddy every single game. That doesn't exist, which is why I don't say that. Like 20-second decisive strike doesn't exist. Like I'm keeping,
strong?
Huh?
Would it then be too strong?
If every killer had to play Freddy?
Yes.
If every single killer had to play Freddy?
Always.
There's no other killer in the game other than Freddy.
And they don't change his power.
Okay, well, in that current landscape, then of course, decisive strike will be way too overpowered. But like that doesn't exist, so like why are we doing that's irrelevant. That's an irrelevant point. That doesn't exist. I want to talk about things that exist right now, not about like crazy things that don't exist.
I give it to you like this. If I'm a Freddy main and I play a lot of Freddy, do you think I care that decisive strike is actually fine against a trickster? That it's balanced against a trickster? Do you think that is fair for a Freddy main if you tell them, or for a nurse main, for example, if you tell them, I don't care how strong perks are against you, yes or not. They are balanced because I'm basing them on other killers. And you just are not enough of a significant number to even be considered, basically.
So once again, they are not thinking about Dead by Daylight in its entirety. They're thinking about it from only one facet. They're thinking about it from only Freddy's perspective, or they're thinking about it from only Nurse's perspective. But you can't do that. You have to look at it in its entirety.
Yes, but then you also have to take account of strongness against Freddy, and you also have to take into account of strongness against nurse.
And once
you cannot
again,
ignore them.
okay, yeah, of course not. And if they want it to come from the standpoint of, oh, it's weak against Freddy, it needs to be nerfed. It's weak against Freddy. Oh my God, it needs to be nerfed. Or
I mean, strong, but yeah.
Oh, sorry, strong. Sorry about that. Or it's weak against Nurse. It needs to be buffed. It's weak against Nurse. It needs to be buffed. They can absolutely have that standpoint, but they have to come with sufficient evidence that makes sense, and they have to argue that standpoint. That's what they have to do. If they want to hold that opinion, they can absolutely do that. But I mean, if anyone plays this game and they play multiple killers and they play Survivor all the time, they would be able to easily argue against that. Easily. So if they want to do that, sure, they can go ahead and do that. Feel free. But it'll be very easy to refute that kind of argument because they're only looking at the game from one facet. I look at the game from multiple facets. I play this game. I am a true 50-50 player. You may not be able to tell it by looking at my videos, but I'm a true 50-50 player. I play 50-50 Survivor and Killer. I get down to Iridescent Rank 1. I make it a point to get down to Iridescent Rank 1 both. So, like, I'm looking at it from all these facets.
I don't care if somebody's a Survivor or a Killer player. If they make factually correct or good arguments, then they make good arguments. And if they make shitty arguments, they make shitty arguments.
I'm just saying. I look at this game from multiple facets. I'm not like trying to bolster my argument with that, but like
I'm just saying I'm not one of these people who says like you are just a killer main, therefore your opinion is invalid.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
I'm not one of these people.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah. So at the end of the day, I think my opinion is basically that I would somewhat agree with you. I would agree with you in the sense that if we're taking every RNG factor into account and we just look at it on average, let's say it like that. We take the average, then I would agree that Decisive Strike and Off the Record are somewhat balanced actually. When we take the average. But I would say that the ups and downs are ginormous. Against some kills it's ridiculous. Against some kills it's absolutely useless.
Yeah.
And then you have an average of like it's fine. Oh, I spit, sorry. Then you have an average of it's fine. And I just don't think that's a good way of balancing it. Or that even matters if the average is fine. Because it can be two complete extremes and then its average is fine, basically.
Yeah, so the thing about that is I argue that it's fine just to push back against the people who say it's too weak. That's why I do it. I argue that it's fine just to push back against people who say it's too weak, right? But
yeah, saying in general.
Yeah, like in
general, it's always too weak.
Yeah, like because it's not, right? Because it's not. There are too many different factors in Dead by Daylight, way too many. And I try my best not to bring RNG. This is why I always push back on people who bring RNG into their arguments. The reason I do that is because there are more survivor-sided realms in Dead by Daylight than there are killer-sided realms. So like if I was trying to argue this from an RNG perspective, my video would be a lot different because I would just make it to where, oh, well, Survivor's too strong because all these... Nah, I look at everything in its totality. I think about everything a killer can do, everything a survivor can do, everything their teammates can do. And then I form my opinion based off that. But like, this is just me analyzing the current state of Dead by Daylight. It doesn't reflect like what I would do with the game, right? Like we mentioned before what we would do with the game in terms of how it would make the game easier to balance if we just had everyone on a level playing field. And for example, if every realm was as balanced as Macmillan and Azerov's, then this game would be extremely easy to balance, right? But it's just not like that. So we have to look at things in their totality. Well, yeah, it sucks. That does suck. I really wish one day we can get to the point where everything is as balanced as Macmillan and Azeroth's. I don't think we're ever gonna get to that point. But if we can, hey, that would be nice. And it will make things like this, the balancing the Decisive Strike and thinking about how long it should be, make things like this easier.
I mean, we are kind of on a good way. I feel like the game is getting more balanced.
Oh yeah, it is. It definitely is. It definitely is. It's more balanced than it's ever been, in my opinion. It's way more balanced than it's ever been.
Agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there is also nothing in the game right now. Like, do you think of anything in the game that is outrageously strong? Besides, of course, Nurse, but that doesn't count.
Yeah. In terms of perks, the only thing in
terms of perks or items or something.
The only thing that's like it's stupid to where like I wouldn't be disappointed if it got nerfed is No, 40 people is straight up. 40 people buckle up straight up broken. They need to nerf that shit. That shit is dumb as fuck. But background player, I wouldn't even. A lot of people say that background player is too strong. It's on the precipice. Like it's like right on the border between too strong and strong. Right? If that makes any sense. But like other than 40 people buckle up and background player. Like I would say that everything else is just fine. Like I even didn't even want to nerf adrenaline like they did. Adrenaline was fine. Like it was just fine like it was, in my opinion. It's a strong perk, sure, but I didn't want to nerf it. Yeah, it was very strong, but I didn't want to nerf it like they did.
Was fine.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, I think everything in this game is it's as balanced as it ever has been. It's certainly a lot more balanced than it was in 2022 with the fucking eruption meta. And it's certainly a lot more balanced than, you know, Undying Ruin meta, you know, that we had.
Or double pellets.
Yeah.
Or infinite loops.
Yeah, exactly. Or the infinites and things of that nature. So, you know.
Or you hooked somebody once and you can just mori them.
Exactly. Yeah, that was stupid. I can't believe that was in the game. Or, you know, you do all gens and then you have keys. You all just get out without.
You can just decisive strike somebody no matter, like.
Yeah. If you're on the gen.
You've been hooked.
Yeah. If you're on the gen or a totem, you just yank them off and then DS. Yeah. Yeah, so Dead by Daylight, well, you know, nothing's on that level. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with this. I agree with this general statement. Like again, we are somewhat on an agreement basically. The only thing we disagree on is we actually don't really disagree on. It's just like I find it more important that you mention more nuance basically of like that there is of course a big difference against how effective certain perks are depending on what situation and what killer we're talking about.
Yeah, of course.
And that you like maybe say that you're talking about the average when you say something is strong or weak and not, you know what I mean.
I mean, the thing is, I do mention nuance in the anti-tunneling video where I say it's anti-tunneling too weak. I mention a lot of nuance in that video. Like I give a lot of scenarios of things that you can mix and match, things that you can do to help yourself not be tunneled. And like the major thesis, if you will, of that video is that anti-tunneling isn't too weak. First of all, anti-tunneling is not too weak, whatever you want to say about it. And plus, on top of that, a lot of the anti-tunneling things that you can do in this game, they depend on your skill. They depend on your skills to where you're not really relying on the perk. Which is why I thought like a 3-second DS was fine, because the skill people will make use out of it. Like, for example, the old DS, you know, where you could just sit on gens, which, you know, it's not like that anymore, of course. But the old DS, people were just good because of that perk. They got away from the killer because of that perk. Or they won games because of that perk. But now, you rely on more tools. You have to fall back on more tools, like your styptics, you know, like your dead hards and things of that nature. You have to rely on your haste perks a lot now. So it's just a lot more skill based, if that makes any sense. And that's how you avoid being tunneled in Dead by Daylight. Now I'm just talking about in the totality of everything, which I do mention in my videos. The totality. It's skill based, and you're able to do it if you're good enough. If you're good enough. And I don't want to unironically say skill issue.
Of course, if you are very skilled, then you can, of course, make it more or less. Like, of course, the killer also has a lot of say on where you loot.
Exactly,
but still, you can somewhat control where you go down. And then you can make it that you go down with your 3-second DS in a place where you can easily get to a pallet or a window.
Exactly. And so, that was my point. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that. But of course, we have to say, a 5-second stun is stronger against a nurse than a 3-second stun, because you get more distance.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's stronger. Yeah. But like in the total, like people were thinking that, oh my god, the 5-second decisive strike buff is gonna break the game. I was like, no, it's stronger. Don't get me wrong, but it's not gonna break the game. It's not like it's the game is not gonna break.
It's more balanced, because it's better. Like for a trapper, it does not make that big of a difference if it's 3 seconds or 5 seconds, because again, if we're talking about a skilled survivor, he will get to a window anyway. But against a nurse, for example, it makes much more of a difference if it's like 5 seconds or 3 seconds, because you get two whole seconds of gaining distance.
I don't think it makes a big difference, because just because they're so like the top killers in the game, like, you know, the nurse.
I wouldn't say it makes a big difference. I would just say it
makes a difference.
Better.
Yeah, it makes a difference. Like you know, of course, 2 seconds better is 2 seconds better, but it's not like a huge difference.
I mean, it's more balanced. I think it's fairer if it's 5. I'm more happy with 5-second stunts than with 3. Even though I am kind of like, by the way, I used to be a nurse main, just so we get this off the table.
Yeah, I read that.
You what?
Yeah, I read that in your comment. You used to be a nurse, man. Yeah.
I said that in the comment, but
Yeah.
the other people didn't know.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah, I used to be a nurse. I also used to be a pick main before anybody flames me for being a nurse. I also used to play a lot of picks. So
Okay.
karma kind of like equals out, I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I tend to play. I play everybody. Like I play everybody. I don't. My main, my
Skull
de facto,
Merchant?
huh? Skull. Yeah, I play
You
Skull
play
Merchant
Skull
too.
Merchant?
Yes, I play Skull Merchant. I actually
You
like.
lost a lot of
Bro,
sympathy right now.
I know. But like I played her to get down to Iridescent 1 just because I needed a strong killer. Like basically to get down to Iridescent rank 1, you can't really use like a really, really, really good killer. You have to use a killer that you can get a lot of points with, that you can get a lot of things in your cause like for example, if you use like Leatherface or Hillbilly, you'll beat the survivors, but you won't pip up, right? You won't get down to Iridescent 1 because you'll end the games too fast. So you have to have someone that's good enough to where they won't end the games too fast, and you can still get a lot of points. So yeah, I know I'm a dirty bastard for playing Skull Merchant. I know, but I play everybody. I play
Actually,
everybody
that
though.
depends. Like, for example, I don't know. Do you know Dowsy?
Yeah, I know he is.
The YouTuber Dowsy?
Yeah.
He used to have this hardcore killer series. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I actually probably don't know about that, but I do know about Dowsy though.
It was a series where he was trying to reach Iridescent 1 as killer
Oh, I see.
on a brand new account
Oh, okay,
with
okay.
nothing. And he had certain conditions of what is considered a win and what is considered a lose. And he couldn't bring add-ons and stuff like that. Like he had some restrictions like that. And
Okay.
what he did, because he also played Hillbilly, because it was basically one of the strongest skills he had access to, and the perks was kind of okay, and he wanted to unlock them for the challenge. What he would do to pip up is he would sometimes just use M1
Yeah.
to gain more points. He would just, if the game were to end very quickly, he just kind of gave the survivors a second chance, extending the game so that he gets more points, more pips.
Yeah.
So you can of course do that even if you are a Leatherface main and you want to reach Iridescent 1. Just if you win very quickly, just give the survivors a second chance, and then you will get there.
Yeah. I gotta figure something out because golly, bro, it's really hard to get down to Iridescent 1, especially with both. It's hard to get down with to 1 with both. But I feel like I owe that to myself, so I can. Huh?
I gave up.
Oh,
I don't try anymore.
Oh, you don't try to get down to Iridescent 1 with both anymore.
Not with both, at least. No.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just, it's too much of a time investment, and it's too much of a hassle, and it kind of annoys me sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you had
that's-
this amazing game, and
Yeah.
everything went right, and then the game's like, actually you don't pip, and you're like, what do you mean I don't pip?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm actually taking a break from Dead by Daylight right now because I did that shit. I don't know if I'm gonna do that iridescent shit anymore because I have to take a break from the game, and probably now is a perfect time to take a break from it anyway because it's so buggy. But yeah, like the getting down the Eerie 1 with Killer and Survivor is fucking stressful as fuck. Goddamn, it's fucking stressful. So yeah.
Okay. I had some few other points. Like the main thing is now always a few side tangents I wanted to talk about, a few side things
Sure.
that you said that I don't agree with. There was one thing that you said which I strongly disagree with, and this is that you said I'm just it's about a quote. It's a word for word what you said, but it's basically what you said. Why do you watch me if you don't like my takes?
Okay.
And why do you comment if you don't like my takes? Because you're boosting engagement. Which I would just say to that. If somebody, like, I'm not saying that you talk bullshit, okay? I'm not
Sure.
saying that. Not
Sure.
But if somebody talks bullshit, and from their perspective you do, of course you speak up against it. Of course you say something against it. Like, if I were to say something absolutely outrageous, you should speak out against it. You
Sure.
should not just let it stand there by itself. So them commenting is not like a stupid thing from them.
No, remember they said that I was trying to form engagement. That's what they said. They didn't only call my takes inconsistent and nonsensical. They said that I was trying to form engagement. So I said that they were stupid for calling me out for forming engagement while simultaneously helping me form engagement. That's why I said they're stupid. I don't care if you say that like what I said in my videos was dumb. I'm fine with that. But if like you say that like I consistently have nonsensical takes and you accuse me of forming engagement, then it is foolish for you since you know that you don't like my content because you've at least seen 2 of my videos to know that you don't like my takes. It is foolish for you now under the assumption that I am forming engagement to help me form engagement. So yeah, I called her stupid for that person who left the comment. I won't say her name, but I called her stupid. Yeah, I think that's dumb. Because for example, like there's these certain content creators I used to like, Hodge Twins. I don't know if you heard about them, but they used to be a workout channel, life advice channel, and things of that nature, and then they turned into a political channel. And I hate politics. I really don't like politics. I despise them. So I just unsubbed from them. I didn't like any more of their videos. I didn't comment on any more of their videos. Anything. I saw that I didn't like the content. I stopped watching their content. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I
think
left
that is something different. It's like more if you were to like, for example, you like Dead by Daylight, and you see I make videos who are rage bait, and you would comment, "This is rage bait. Don't fall for it," for example. Then would that make you stupid?
I mean, not quite, because you're not really acute. You're trying. I get no. That kind of would make you dumb, in my opinion. It would, because it's because if you think it's rage bait, right? If you're doing, it depends on why you're leaving a comment. If you're leaving a comment just to warn other people that it's rage bait, then no, you're not stupid. But if you're leaving the comment to call them out for rage baiting, for making it so they're rage baiting, you're just wanting to tell the YouTuber about or whatever, and you just want to call it out, then that kind of does make you dumb, because you're just boosting their video up in the algorithm to where they're able to rage bait more people.
But so like at that point, how do you know? Like, how do you know what the intention of that person was?
Well, yeah, it depends on what their intention is. But this person in my comment, like, she said what my intentions were. She said that
your opinion is dumb, and you're just trying to get rage bait.
Engagement farm. She said I'm trying to engagement farm.
You're rage baiting, basically, if you know what rage baiting is.
Yeah, I know what rage baiting is.
Yeah, and you argue that's dumb because she is actually kind of, if she actually thinks that you're rage baiting, she's encouraging that rage bait. Yeah,
she's helping me. Yes.
But her intention could just be that she wants to show that you're rage baiting to other people, because she thinks you're way too far gone.
Well, no, she was talking to me.
But of course, then you could ask the question: why does she talk about you? Like, why does she address you and not address the other people?
Yeah,
honestly, I can tell you.
The better,
maybe like
go ahead.
No, you can go if you.
No, go ahead. I'll let you finish your point. That's fine.
So the point is like that she is like thinking about, okay, you're rage baiting, I'm trying to warn people, and maybe she wrote a comment like that because she thinks if she says, or he, that if he or she writes down, he is just rage baiting, ignore him, that you will delete the comment. Maybe that's the reason why she wrote it out. Like, you know what I mean? We cannot know the intention. So calling, like, first of all, calling somebody stupid in general is kind of mean.
Oh, I don't really care about that. These commenters are mean to me, so I don't really care. And plus, like, I don't want to make it sound like I take it personally when they are mean to me. But I just give you what you give me. That's all I do. I'm like, if you just comment on my video and you say that this is a silly take, I don't agree, and then you go into reasons why you don't agree, then I'll engage with you respectfully, right? Because you're being respectful. You just think that what I'm saying is silly. But like, if you're saying that, like, I consistently have some of the worst takes in Dead by Daylight, like insulting me basically, and then you're trying to accuse me of engagement for me, yeah, I'm gonna be mean to you, right? Like, that's just, it just is what it is. If you don't want me to be mean to you, don't say foolish shit in my comment section.
I remember you making fun of one guy who wrote like everything you say is wrong, and then the end of his comment was actually this one point.
Yeah.
I can remember that.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't insult him. I just said, I just saying, if you don't agree with me, then why did you say that? Like, you said that I always make shitty opinions, and then you fucking, or not opinions, but I always had shitty takes, and then you said at the end of your comment, well, this one thing you said I actually agree with, so I didn't even make fun of him. I just called him out for the nonsense that he wrote. So like, I don't want you to think that like I'm an asshole to people who just say that
you weren't to me, so why would I think that?
No, of course, yeah,
you
of
were
course
not to me, so
yeah,
I wouldn't think that.
Of course not. Of course, I mean anybody in general. I don't want people to think that I'm an asshole to people just because they disagree with me or they call me out. Saying, oh, I don't agree with this opinion. I'm only an asshole if you start insulting me. Like, if you start insulting me, then I'll start insulting you. If
you're an asshole to me, I would be an asshole to you.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm gonna say the meanest shit I can think of, basically. And if you're cordial to me, hey man. Even if we disagree on stuff, I'll continue to be cordial with you. I'll engage with you. I won't call you names, I won't ever do anything like that. But if you do it to me, hey, man, you get what you get.
I don't do that shit.
Yeah, of course not. I know you don't.
At the most I do is calling a opinion or a statement dumb. but I don't call you dumb. So if
Yeah.
you make a statement that I think is dumb, then I might say, no offense, but I think that statement is dumb.
Yeah, of
But I
course.
will not say you are dumb for making that statement.
Of course, yeah, of course, and that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be, you know. Yeah, a lot of people
Okay.
aren't able to do that. Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you go ahead.
Let's go on.
How many more talking points do we have? Because God, Lee, we've been.
I need to check because like a lot of these things we've already talked about.
Okay.
Like,
All right, it's 2
because like
hours.
we were going on some things all over the place, so I need to figure out. We already had that. We had that. Yeah, we already discussed that.
Try and choose the best one because I have to get off here and start getting ready for my day and stuff.
Basically almost done.
Yeah.
We're at most probably gonna take 15 minutes.
Okay, all right.
Oh, there's one thing I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Even though you will probably disagree with me.
Mm-hmm.
You had a video, or you have a video on your channel, which is called "Anti-tunneling is way too weak," which is as a joke. It's meant as a joke.
Yeah.
And you loop a pig in this video.
Uh-huh.
And what I wanted to tell you is, this video almost has nothing to do with anti-tunneling.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only anti-tunnel perk you use in the entire 5-gen chase is off the record, which in that situation could have even been a dead hard.
Okay, so like that video's a joke. That's a troll video. That's all it is. It's not like I'm not trying to like prove a point. I just made a funny title, you know, because like the reason I made that title is because a lot of people think that I'm a killer main. They think that I'm some biased to my eyeballs killer main, and I think that like everything survivors do is broke and or whatever, and whatever the fuck they think that I don't play survivor. So like it was just a funny title for a good game. That's all it was. It's not me trying to make a point or anything.
Okay. I just wanted to clear that up. There's another thing that I strongly disagreed with, which was you made a video where you like, why do survivors complain about being tunneled?
Okay.
You remember?
Yeah.
And you said there are only 2 possibilities why a survivor complains about being tunneled, which is either, I'm gonna read this word for word basically. Where was it?
I'll tell you what I said. I said
you're either shitty at the game.
Okay. Yeah.
Or you are a selfish asshole.
Yeah. I didn't say asshole.
Yeah, but like it's basically what you implied. You are either a selfish prick.
Yeah, sure.
Or you are shitty at the game.
Okay, go with that. Yeah.
Which I disagree with because.
Okay.
What if you are not selfish, but the opposite, you're selfless? You also argued. I forgot to make this point. You said that why do survivors don't like being tunneled when it's the most fun thing in the game to be tunneled, to be chased? These 2 points are very important. So he said the most fun thing in the game, at least is common sense, how you said, or it's like the what most people think, or what you think most
generally
people think,
agreed upon, yes, to be the funnest thing in the game.
Is that it's the most fun, and you can only be a selfish prick or shitty at the game, and that's why you're complaining about tunneling. Well, what if I'm a very selfless player and I'm good at the game, but I want my teammates to also have fun and chase, but the survivor just won't, the killer just won't stop chasing and camping me. So I'm upset because my friends do not get to play the game. Then I'm not selfish and I'm not shitty at the game.
If you wanted to argue, that's fine. I mean, but like, have you? This is the thing. This is the thing, right? You have to understand where my comments came from. My comments are coming from people who leave comments on my videos, people who post on forums, and people who post YouTube videos. I have never once seen anybody who gets tunneled complain that they got tunneled because other people weren't able to have fun in the game. I've never once seen it in my entire 3,000 hours of playing, in my entire 5 years of being on this game. I've never once seen that at all. The only arguments I've seen generally boils down to, I fucking got tunneled, this kill's a piece of shit, I fucking got out in fucking 30 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever the fuck, 40 seconds, whatever the fuck. That means they're not skilled enough. Or, oh my god, I got tunneled. And they don't really understand the implications of getting tunneled. Like, they don't understand that, like, if they get tunneled, that means that they free their whole entire team up to get themselves out, basically, which makes them selfish.
The next thing, which I also would argue, is making that is not good. Like, being tunneled is not good for nobody, because unless the killer actually successfully tunnels you out in a reasonable speed. Because as you showed this video, if you can remember, in like we were just talking about a minute ago, of like anti-tunneling is way too weak, and you complained at the end of this video that you didn't pip. You literally looped the pig for 5 gens.
Yeah.
You didn't pip. I'm sure your teammates didn't pip. The pig didn't pip. Nobody pipped. It's a shitty situation. For everybody.
But the thing is, I didn't complain about being tunnel. Like, I never complained about being tunnel. That's the
No, you
problem
complained
there.
about not pipping.
Yeah. So
Which, of
our,
course, might be a reason why
Mhm.
somebody don't like being tunneled, because nobody pips.
I once again, I haven't seen that argument. Like you have to understand that.
You are right now.
Okay, no. You have to understand that when I make these videos, and the important thing that I don't think you quoted me on, the important thing is the comments, the videos, and the posts on forums. The general theme of their comments, their videos, and their posts is that they're either selfish or that they are not skilled to deal with it. That is
Yeah,
the
but you didn't
standpoint
say
I
that.
waited. That is the standpoint. No, of course I said it. Do you want me to play
No,
out?
you didn't say that there's not a possibility. You said the only two possibilities are these two. There is no anything else, and there factually are other possibilities.
Do you want me to play back the audio? Do you want to play back the audio? Do
I
you want to
actually
play?
have a timestamp. Do I have?
Okay, yeah, play.
No, I don't. No, I have.
Okay, yeah, go
It's
ahead
the
play the
second
audio.
minute of the video.
No. Play it from the beginning. Play it from the beginning. I want you to play
Can
it
I
from
just
the
play
beginning.
audio, because like I would need to change. Can I play the audio? Or is that?
Yeah. Go ahead and play my audio. That's fine.
It was Why Do Survivors?
Yeah, play. I want you to play it from the beginning of the video and listen to what I said.
I am. So we will just listen for like a minute or two.
Sure. Do you want me to play it?
I'm already playing it. Oh, you can't hear it, of course, but like I'm playing it for.
All right.
You should play it for yourself.
Yeah, I'll play it for myself.
If you also want to hear it.
Okay.
I cannot play it so you hear it too, unless I would like make you. That would take me very long and a lot of effort to make it so you
fine.
both hear it.
That's fine.
I can just wait. Tell me when you're at second 35.
I'll flip there now.
Why do survivors complain about being told? Follow me here. Isn't the
What did you say?
general consensus the question of why?
I'll let you know when I'm there. All right.
What's poppin'? My name is Duckhead, and today I'd like to discuss once again tunneling in Dead by Daylight. And I want to discuss the players who complain about being tunneled. I want to ponder over the question of why do survivors complain about being tunneled? Follow me here. Isn't the general consensus
35 seconds right now. I'm at 35 seconds.
from survivor players that
Perfect. I go back real quick.
generators in Dead by Daylight, that's the most boring thing you can do, because you're just sitting there holding a singular button on a generator, R1 or fucking mouse button 1, whatever platform you're on, and you're just getting skill checks, and this shit's boring. Isn't that what people complain about in this game who play the survivor role? That's just boring. So where does the fun lie in the survivor role? The fun lies in the chase. The fun lies in the interaction with the other side in Dead by Daylight. That's where the fun lies. So that begs the question, if the fun lies there, then why do survivors complain about being tunneled when they are having basically all the fucking fun? They're getting all the chases. Why do they do that? I think that can be answered in two different ways. I think there are two categories you fall under if you actually complain about being tunneled. One is you are a selfish player. And two, you just aren't skilled enough to deal with it, so you're just a subpar player in terms of skill. So let's explore understand that if they are tunneled in Dead by Daylight, then the key
Is that can we stop there? Is that enough? Because
That's-
like you have basically stated there are two categories. You have
Yeah.
never said that there's anything else.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so
yeah.
I was in the saga of tunneling in Dead by Daylight. I didn't mention in that video. You got me there. I didn't mention in that video. But like the where these videos come from are the comments that I get, the posts that I read on Reddit, and the videos I see other people make. That's where these videos
I
come
guess
from.
you would also like there was another statement you made which would also answer the same thing, where you said you can know what kind of person someone is based on their opinion on tunneling.
Yeah,
You would also probably mean that you mean
I
that in like forums and videos and stuff, right?
Yeah, I said
And with what
if,
kind of person it is, I mean like what kind of player it is.
Okay, so yeah, I said based off what kind of comments they leave in the comment section, what the comment says, you can get a general idea of what kind of player this is. Yeah, I said that.
Yes, that's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So you also mean that in the way of like, because most people are like, you wouldn't say that you can do that with everybody, just with a lot of people.
I mean, yeah, so you can get a general idea of what people think with the comments that they leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But not because they are for or against tunneling. That does not tell you what kind of player they are, right?
Based off their comment? I never implied that it tells you that based off their comments.
Actually, you did.
I did?
We could again watch the thing, but I almost verbatim always write out what you say. So you kind of did, but that's just
what did I say
you
exactly?
Didn't mean it like that.
What did I say exactly?
Something around the lines of you can know what kind of person, the kind of player. I think you said someone is based on what they leave as comments or like on Reddit or whatever.
Yeah, I said you can get a good idea of what kind of player someone is on the comment based on the comments they leave on Reddit. Yeah. On Reddit or forums
but
or
you
videos
didn't say like sometimes, or you just made it as an absolute statement, like it's a superpower of yours. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. It's not that important.
Like,
there's
okay,
one
so
last
what
thing,
are we talking about here? What are we talking about here?
It's okay. There's
Okay,
one last thing,
okay,
and this is just
alright.
a personal thing that I just want to give you. Basically, it's a, well, you know, your, how is it called? My response to Mr. Headache's video about me.
Uh-huh.
You have two parts, right?
Yeah, part 1 and part 2.
In your first part, your first link literally opens the first part.
Say what now?
You have put the wrong link in the first part. When you click in the first part on the first link, it just opens the same video again.
Okay. What, like, is this
Your
supposed to be
first
like
link-
some intervention or something? Like, are we debating? What are we doing here?
What do you mean?
Like, are we debating anything? Like, what are we
No,
doing?
that's the end. That's my last thing. I just wanted to like.
Oh, okay.
This was just a like from content creator to content creator.
Oh.
I just making you know that you accidentally put the wrong
I have
link
the
under that
okay.
video.
Okay, thank you.
Just letting you know,
Okay,
so you can
thank you.
change it to the right link.
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's like
Thank you about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
that's basically all. We're done. Like these are the only things I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I think we've come to more or less an agreement. We don't agree necessarily perfectly on everything, but we mostly agree, I would say, about the general state of the game and what would be best for the game, but we won't get. Which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yeah, would you want to bring up anything else, or?
No, that's it. That's it. I mean, I would love to do another one of these in the future if I make anything else that you disagree with. I'd love to do another. And you know, if anyone else that you know of disagrees with anything I'm saying, just let me know, and we can hop in Discord as well and debate. That's fine. I really didn't know it was gonna go on for 2 hours and 30 minutes, but it's all good.
That.
Yeah, I didn't expect that, but you know, it's all good. I enjoyed this this debate that we had. I enjoyed this conversation.
What's about the Mr. Headache? Is there still plans to do a debate with him, or is this kind of dropped? I've read the comment that you had.
No, we did a discussion. It wasn't really a debate. It was more so of a discussion. Well, we did that. Like, we hopped in the Discord call. We just more so of a discussion. Really, it wasn't really him disagreeing with what I was saying. It wasn't what we were doing back and forth here. It was just more so of us discussing things. It wasn't really a debate. I thought it was gonna be a debate, but nah, it wasn't a debate.
Is there a video from it? Is there a video online?
Yeah, you had to check my live VODs though. It's on my live VOD.
No, it's a live VOD of yours. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
'cause
I just wanted to know
streamed
that was personally for me, a question from me. Okay. Then I'd say I thank you very much for coming here and
Yeah, no problem.
for having this quite civil and quite nice discussion.
Yeah, no problem, man.
I'm thankful that you respect my opinions. I respect your opinions, and well, I hope that in the future I'll have, and you too, other debates that are like this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But you never know.
yeah, definitely, man. Yeah.
Other than that, was great talking to you.
Yeah.
I wish you a very, very nice rest of your Sunday, even though it's not very much.
Yeah.
And I wish you good luck on social media, man.
All right, thanks, bro. You too, man.
Thanks, man.
All right.
See you around.
All right, I'll see you, bro.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Rising up, back